Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli and tonight I'll be joined by... First up, 100 million sperm and this man was the fastest. But how, I hear you cry? Simply because he got a taxi. It's our very own producer, Danny the GFP. Hello, Danny.
I think that could be deemed as constructed. Oh, some long word as you've been horrible to me.
You're just too lazy to say it.
I'm off to The Hague and you're going down.
What I basically meant was, how do, fat man?
I told you about my baked bean tragedy, didn't I?
You have.
I was eating jacket potatoes and baked beans, and a baked bean dropped, landed in my huge belly, and would you believe it, it's the same size as my belly button, and I couldn't get it in to get it out, and I couldn't pick it. Every time I tried to pick it, it went further in.
And
Who
for
knew?
those of you that have actually seen a picture of Danny, that would physically repulse you.
I did actually tweet a picture of me naked in the bath yesterday, and I tell you what, Twitter's gone mental for it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Next up,
How dare you.
Since his last appearance on the show, he's inspired his Barbican Pirates team to 5-2 and 6-0 losses. Carpenter out, they cry.
No, they
it's
don't.
Kris Carpenter.
Oh, God, hello you all. How are you doing?
Do you know what? The funniest thing was hearing your message on WhatsApp after your team had lost. It
sounded
sounded like
crying.
you were going to cry. Sundays are fast becoming my favourite day, just to sit on WhatsApp and see how many you've lost by.
Well, all I can say is I'm very glad that I make all of you happy in my days of defeat.
You make my Sunday. I was sat at a Hungry Horse, i.e. a table, and I was just sat there robbing the free Wi-Fi, just waiting to hear your voicemail.
We try our best, but as long as we're entertaining you, I suppose that's half the battle, isn't it?
No, that's fair enough, I suppose. Right, next up, there's many ways I can describe this man, but I've been persuaded to go with tin-teasing city boy. It's our finance man, Andrew.
Jesus. Hi guys, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you?
Insulted?
Slightly, but no, I'll take that. It's better than Carpenter's introduction.
Do you know what? There were so many ways I could have introduced you, and probably that is the best one.
That's only because it's his third
you
show.
You are quite new to this show, and I'm still trying to find ways that I could offend you. So it could possibly get worse. But we'll move on then.
Then he'll sue you.
Yeah, will he?
Yeah, he'll hunt you down and do you in with a copy of the Financial Times.
Christ. Right, and finally, currently one of the best stand-up comedians on the circuit and a gooner to boot. It's my pleasure to introduce to you tonight's special guest, Mr. Rob Beckett. Hello, Rob.
Hello, you alright?
Yeah, not too bad. It's been about 4 months we've been telling people that you've been coming on the show, and the day is finally here.
To be fair, there was a World Cup in between then.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't have wanted to have been on our World Cup one.
Oh, Jesus, no. That was awful. Every time you're on the telly, I say to my daughter and my friends that are here, like Anna and Ren, I go, there you go, that's Rob Beckett, he's coming on our podcast. And they just tell me to fuck off. They said he ain't coming on there. I said he will one day. He will.
And I'm here.
Look at it.
I battled through Skype and I made it here.
Oh.
He's rocked up and he's bringing the F words. Right. We'll kick off tonight's show by going straight over to Danny, who has all the Arsenal scores from across the board.
Jeez, I panicked then. I forgot that I'd already done it. Oh, it's been a glorious week for the non-first team men's thing. Manchester City 0, Arsenal ladies 4. Jordan Nobbs, Danielle Carter, Rachel Yankee, Casey Stone. Take a bow, ladies. Well done. You've done the Oilies and their billions. They've spunked all over that. You know, in the ladies' football, Doncaster Bells, one of the founder members of the ladies' football, got relegated without even finishing bottom. They managed to get them out of the top league by some kind of thing to do with their stadium, so Man City could go up. What a disgrace. To have that. That was for Doncaster Bells. We're now 5th after 9 games. Next game, Birmingham City away this Sunday, 2 p.m. The under-21s, as we're playing tonight against West Brom right now as we speak. This time last week, drew 1-1 with Derby County, with Maitland-Niles scoring the goal. We're now 4th after 2 games. And the under-18s, I tell you what, I'm still moist. This was nearly a week ago. Beat Chelsea 5-1. Steffi, I don't even know how to say these names. Steffi Malvidi got 2, Harry Donovan got 1, Tyrell Robinson got 2. We are now top of the league after 2 games. And their next game is Saturday midday, home to Aston Villa. We're probably going to beat them 50-0. Well done, ladies and boys and young men.
Wonderful.
Done. Look at that.
Can I ask
I was going to say, Kris has got something for his Pirates team, which we proudly sponsor.
It wasn't even that, but I will go on to that. But I was just going to say, the under-21s game, if you haven't seen the Vine that's shooting around Twitter at the moment, Dan Crowley's goal in the warm-up.
Was it good?
It's well worth a look up. I retweeted it about 20 minutes ago.
Is it tidy?
It's a belter.
Oh.
I think he was trending, so it's it's a pretty good goal. Anyway, speaking of goals, we haven't got any.
Hold on.
To not get relegated, that should be your main goal this season.
They can't get relegated. They're in the bottom league. Should I add music to this when I'm editing it?
Must
Do you
you?
get refund for if they get demoted on the sponsorship?
Don't
No,
encourage
Yeah,
us.
we should
Chair
do.
back.
Raj has already said he wants his money back. He's been conned.
That's his pizza money. That's what that is.
Go on, tell us the bad news.
Well, I can confirm it was another loss. I'm afraid. The last Sunday we played a team called Plymouth Hope,
Bastards.
who were they're a good
Splitters.
side, very good side in fairness. But no, we were 1-0 down in 10 minutes, 2 down after 33. But then we kind of held firm. It was 2-0 for quite a long period. In fact, we didn't concede again until the 72nd minute. We had a couple of chances. Keith made a good save, and we kind of pushed them back. But unfortunately, the genius manager, I don't know who that guy is. I'm sure he's awesome. Couldn't quite turn it around, unfortunately. And we did ship a couple of late goals, 75th, 83rd, and 90th minute. So it ended up a 6-0 tragedy. But onwards and upwards, the wonderful Plymouth City Council have called off both of our games this week. So we didn't have a game on Wednesday. We won't have a game on Sunday, but we will have a game on Sunday because we've managed to arrange a friendly against no less than the Southway, who were the team that we lost to on the opening day, but we also got a draw with
1-1.
in pre-season. Yes.
1-1. I was there.
So this is very much the rubber match, and we're going all out to smash them on Sunday. So
Kill 'em.
How many players from their team didn't turn up when you got that draw?
11? No. They had a full strength side, and we were very impressive in that 1-1 draw. And to be honest, we gave them 4 of the 5 goals in the league game, so we're confident that we can turn it around. We didn't have the ABW kits for the draw,
Oh, that's why.
but we did have to the league game, so we have to make sure that we turn this around and put a positive on it.
I
So
think the question Rob wants to ask is it going to be on Sky Sports?
well, we are sending Jeff and a ladder so he can cover it, but look out for updates. I'm sure it'll be trending. I'm sure it'll be all over Sky.
I can't
And,
sleep.
And if
You're
they
gonna have
can't,
to, but-
if
so you're
they
gonna have to
can't,
watch out for B Goldsmith, mate.
yeah, very true.
You got 2 goals for Southway on the weekend against Activate Reserve, so
Yeah, they're in decent form. They have been stripped of 4 points today, though. They fielded an ineligible player in the opening game, so they've actually got a 4-point deduction. So
What was he? Decent.
probably it's a good job we didn't, because we can't afford to ship any more points. But
What, on the 0 you're already on?
exactly,
I'm with you though, and I'm backing you all the way. Carpenter in.
No,
Yeah,
I think Jason gives you a hard time, Chris, and it's quite bad to see, but I think the words that I'd like to leave you with is,
God.
God loves a trier.
What league
Thanks.
is this in? What league are you in?
we're in the Plymouth and West Devon Division 3 Sunday morning league.
Oh, okay.
And
Heard of it.
cheap plug website www.barbicanpiratesfc.com.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Right, our first topic of conversation comes tonight in the form of Saturday's game away to Everton. On the day, it ended a 2-2 draw, and for his thoughts, I'll go straight over to Chris.
Back to me again, Christ, you're a sucker for punishment. It really was. I know it's a cliche, but it really was a game of two halves. A game of utter frustration and pain in the first half, and sort of sheer elation in the second half. We looked when the sort of team lineups came out and Alexis was up front in his own. I was sort of quietly optimistic. I think I called a 2-1 win on the pod last week. I was quite confident we could go there and get something. And particularly when Everton seemed to set up with a very similar tactical layout to how they beat us last year, I thought, oh, we'll be all right this year. We'll have worked it out. Somewhere along the line that went a bit wrong in the first half. We didn't really seem at it. We didn't seem to have any cutting edge. Alexis was getting pretty much marked out of the game. They seemed to have the script on what he was going to do every time he received the ball. We just didn't. We seemed very ponderous in possession, and there wasn't a lot going on. And then Big Ollie come on second half, and I know a lot of people were screaming at their TV sets from at home and probably in the ground as well. When Alexis come off, I think everyone was up in arms. But it really changed the game, just having that focal point, something to aim for. And we certainly kept them a lot more quiet second half. To leave it that late just showed a real strength of character, and I'm not sure whether we would have had that same character last season in the same or similar sort of position. We kind of rather gave up and capitulated at 3-0 last year, and this year there was sort of a real desire to get something out of the game. I think if you'd have offered us a point pre-game, we'd have taken it. And with 9 minutes to go, I was pretty delighted with the point, to be honest.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, one of the things about the selection on that day was Ozil playing on the left. Rob, do you think that was a good decision? Because he's come under some criticism for playing him there.
Well, I don't know. I think the problem is no one really knows where anyone plays anymore in the Arsenal team. It's sort of they're always put in different positions, and like Alexis is going to go up front or on the wing, and then Ozil's on the left or whatever. I just think until the transfer window's closed, I think a lot of the players aren't really sure where they're going to play. Even like Chambers last year was right back. Now he's come in at centre back, and Wenger said, "Oh, he might be able to play in central midfield." It's almost like players have a position for a reason because it's their best position, and I'd think it would be better for the whole team if he just chooses where they play and plays in there every week, rather than the doubt of going, is he going to be on the left or in the middle? Because it does affect how you play.
Yeah, I mean he's done it many times before, Danny. Do you think that it's beneficial for players or not?
I think sometimes he's always been his way, even since the really early days. He'd get forwards and play them on the wing, and I remember him saying somewhere, or me reading, that if you play a striker on the wing at the start, then they know what to expect from the wingers when they're playing up front. So I think like he's done that with Walcott, he did it with Henry, he does it with quite a few of the players. The only time it doesn't work is when you're playing Ramsey or Wilshere out wide, because I don't think that does work.
Yeah, that's like telling a barman he's allowed to down a pint so he knows what the customers are doing.
It's a similar thing to that, yeah. But I did like Sanchez up front. I thought he was, not necessarily against Everton because he only played half the game and I wasn't sure. I only saw about 3/4 of the game. I turned my stream off at 2-0 down because I got angry with it because I'm having a dispute with Sky at the moment. I've told them to go fuck themselves and they're not listening. So I didn't see our last 2 goals until match of the day.
I'll tell it like it is, Danny. We'll go over to Andrew next. Debussy and Chambers, they're making great starts to their Arsenal careers, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're both fitting in very, very nicely. I think Debussy especially, just given the experience, he's got in, we're playing him in his natural position, and he looks like he's slotted in immediately. He's had, a couple of games, fantastic games for us on the bounce last night. I think it's pretty unfortunate last night, which I know we'll come on to, but He had a very tough opponent against Everton with Morales. I think Morales might have got the better of him once or twice, but generally Debussy had a very good game. He roamed forward well. His tackling and positioning was good. And then you come on to Chambers. So I think also, he's the thing with Chambers. I think he settled in very quickly at Arsenal. He's very technically competent on the ball, which I think Wenger likes from his centre backs. We've seen people like Mertesacker. He's improved tremendously in his ability to play the ball out from defence since he joined Arsenal anyway. And I think so that's something that Wenger must appreciate in Chambers' game. I think you don't want to be too critical of him because you have to take into context that he's only 19. He's playing his first few games in centre back for a top club. So there's still elements to his game where you think, such as positioning, for example, he's been caught out in pretty much every game that we've had so far. He's been caught out at some point where there's been players moving into space behind him and he hasn't really read the game where they're moving. But you can't knock him for that, is what I'm trying to say, because you don't expect him to know that just yet. That's something he'll gain with experience, from coaching, from learning with players like Koscielny. But I think, the potential he's showing from this early stage in his Arsenal career is phenomenal. And I don't think there's been many players we've seen come in and at 19 years old and just slot in so easily at centre back. So it's great to see. And I think, sorry, mate.
No, I was just going to say he's been absolutely fantastic. I couldn't actually fault him at all since he's come in. He just looks solid, doesn't he?
Yeah, the way he's settled in. I know it's it's not a cliche, but it's just a saying. But he's a typical Arsenal player, isn't he? He's got very much he's got that kind of Koscielny about him, where he's tenacious in his tackling, and he's very calm and collective on the ball when his passing's there, his vision's there. But then he's also got that kind of ability to read the game, just like Mertesacker or an Adams. So I think he's got a huge Arsenal career ahead of him. And I'd quite like to see him stay in centre back. Actually, I think we need some nice young English blood in defence. So if we can keep and mould him in there, and he can work with people like Baldy on the training ground, then I think we've got an absolute gem.
No, exactly. I totally agree with you. Another one of our summer transfers we should talk about is Alexis Sanchez. This was a player, Kris, that was bought off at half-time. Why do you think he was bought off? A lot of people said that it was down to his physical performance, that he was tired, and a lot of people said it was just down to his performance. What do you make of it?
It's difficult to know. I think people have got to remember that despite the fact he's coming for a lot of money, and he scored a lot of goals, and he's clearly a terrific world-class player. It's going to take time. He's been used to a league in La Liga where the tackling is a lot less physical. There's a lot more space. He's come from a team, sort of a Barcelona team, that their heights were pretty much untouchable in La Liga. It's only really been the last season where they've sort of started to fall off. And obviously the space and the positions that he's been playing in have been very different. When he played for Barcelona, he was very much one of the three forwards, sort of in behind Messi, either one of the wide guys like Neymar or literally in behind. So you're asking a guy to come in and play directly up top. He's not the biggest of guys. I mean, he's clearly extremely well chiseled. Figuratively, he's got a very good physique, but he's not sort of a hulking great centre forward like a Giroud that's going to receive the ball to feet and be able to bring players in. So I think it was kind of a judgment call. The defenders he's up against, it's Distan and was it Jagielka? It was Jagielka, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They're both sort of old-fashioned Premier League worn defenders. They're going to know that we got this Chilean superstar. Let's kick him a bit, and they did appear to close him down. And his work rate. There was one point in the first half where I seem to remember he lost possession sort of midway in the Everton half, lost possession and went racing back and chased all the way back to win the ball back. And it was fantastic to see. But all those little things take energy. And when you're a manager from the sidelines looking on, you're seeing your striker back in your own half and having to come back into his own half to receive possession. Maybe the manager just sort of looked at it and thought, we need something different here. We need a focal point. And it was no different to Everton starting with Lukaku, arguably their biggest and most powerful striker. They played him on the wing, and they did that for a reason, because they know that there's a sort of a weakness down our flanks, or they thought there was a perceived weakness in Monreal playing. So I think it was a judgment call, and it was proven to be quite the correct one, and it could even have been Wenger saying, look, you didn't really give it to me first half, I need to go with something different.
And obviously a point is good after being 2-0 down. I mean, I was sat there after the second one in, and I didn't honestly think we'd get anything out of the game. But Rob, should we be winning games like these to be considered title contenders?
Yeah, to be considered title contenders, definitely. But it's definitely better than last season, because we would have lost that last season. So it might not be, straight title contenders this year, but as long as it's getting better. And it was nice to get a draw and snatch it in the last minute rather than go 2-0 up and let it slip away. So I'm always quite positive anyway, but I think we definitely would have lost that last season. Whether that makes us title contenders, I'm not sure, but at least it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, and Andrew, you wanted to say something on Sanchez quickly.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to bring it back to, it actually was something really interesting that Hillier was saying last week on the pod about the way in which Arsenal press high, or kind of how we don't press high. And I think, we talk about how there's a lack of holding midfielders sometimes, and because we don't, as a team, attack to defend or defend to attack, it leaves us isolated up front. And it's something I've noticed in quite a few games where actually we sit quite deep. So some teams that have had success against us naturally press really highly. And unless we play players like Rosicky and we don't push the ball forward, we leave the centre forward exposed and isolated. And that's why I think people like Giroud don't get enough credit, because of the work he does. And I think a lot of people have been calling for Sanchez to be a centre forward. Other people have said he's a striker or a winger. And we saw on the weekend, he's isolated a lot throughout the game. He didn't give us that, I think, as Kris mentioned, that focal point. So as a team, I don't think we really played to the strengths of what we can get from a centre forward from Sanchez. He only touched the ball once in the Everton penalty area, for example. He was routinely having to come and track back, which is good to see. It's nice energy levels. But he only had a 63% pass rate completion. He didn't have players cutting in behind him like you'd expect, like Chamberlain or Özil. And I think that's all not just down to him as a player and him not having maybe necessarily the physical build, for example, but because as a team we didn't set ourselves up correctly to play with that type of centre forward. It was almost like we just plonked him there and said, right, you're going to do what Giroud does, but we didn't tactically adapt ourselves to play to play to his style. So that's why I think we saw such a difference in the team when we did bring Giroud on. And it's a credit to Wenger, to make that change at half time, and we saw a huge improvement in the team.
And Danny, you've got something to say on it as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I just want to know what Rob thought about this, because I was defending Giroud in the week, saying if Arsenal were trying to buy a new striker, good luck buying a striker who's going to do all the hard work, the tracking back, the defending, the covering on the wings, the covering in the Bergkamp hole, and get 25 goals a season. Do you think that's a kind of job that Sanchez will do, Rob, or do you think that maybe Wenger's going to try a different type of football?
Well, I think they're like, obviously very different players, aren't they? And like what Giroud, he's not world class sort of striker, but he, like you said, he does all that work and gets in a few goals, and he sort of links up the play. And I think Sanchez is going to be one running around, making runs, nipping in and out, rather than being the sort of holding it up for everyone and playing them in. So I think obviously it's brilliant, but he's never going to be able to play the same game that Giroud plays. So he either needs to buy another striker that can play that way, not Zijic, whatever his name is, but someone who plays that type of game, and then have Sanchez in and around him. But he's never going to be able to play, like Giroud plays. Even Sanogo doesn't play like Giroud because he's more about making the defence feel unsettled and making those runs. Where Giroud will have his back to goal, rattle everyone and play people in. So I think he's going to have to change it up a little bit. But at least he is making bold decisions rather than just leaving it to the 75th minute and then bringing on the same old substitute. So I think at least he's having to think about tactics, where sometimes he's been criticised for not, just sticking to his same, attack.
See, the thing is, I think with Giroud that a lot of people fail to realise is you get exactly what you pay for with a 12-13 million pound striker. He's not world class. He didn't go for world class money either. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people are getting on his back. Chris, I know you've got a little bit of a rant, so let's have it.
Yeah, I have. People that sit on Twitter or Facebook or boxes or whatever it is they sit on.
Adult friend finder,
Tinder,
Instagram.
maybe Instagram. I get sick and fed up, and I get pissed off. Basically.
Oh, look at you with the potty language, steady boy,
well,
steady.
I'm very annoyed. These people that we go 1-0 down. And straight away, all over the world, all over the Twitter world, it's like, right, the world's ending. Throw the team underneath the bus, set the stadium on fire, chuck everyone in a bowl of acid. The world's end. It's just fucking ridiculous. Every single week. And don't get me wrong, it's not the true diehard fans, the proper supporters, the people that understand the game, the people that understand the mechanics of the game, how it works, how we bring in players, all of this. They are the real fans. But these keyboard warriors, these people that just sit there and bash away abuse after abuse after abuse. I cannot understand it. And these are the same people that the minute Giroud steps up and sticks that ball in the net with a second to go, they're like, I told you should have brought Giroud on. No, you didn't. You sat there and you slagged off the team. You slagged off the selection that the manager put out there. You slagged off the same manager, which was the same manager that brought on the player that changed the game. It just does my head in. We're going to get more of this for the next 4 days. Oh, he's not going to buy anyone, is he? He's not going to buy anyone. People are just they're not patient, and it's just. And from my point of view, if you've got nothing positive to say, either go and support Chelsea or Spurs, or just say nothing. I don't understand. If there's a genuine rant, or if there's something that you want to get across, put it in an articulate way. This is something else that really bugs me, is when people go on Twitter and they just abuse people.
You do know you can unfollow Jason, don't you?
I was going to say,
get rid of him.
Just tell Jason to his face. He won't mind.
Yeah, he won't understand, but he won't mind.
I think the people that upset me the most are those ones that you try and have a genuine debate with them, and they make a point, and you say, okay, I look at it from your point of view, and you think Wenger's you see you next Tuesday, whatever, and you ask them for their opinion, they just go, well, no, he's shit, isn't he? Well, that's a really intelligent and well thought out argument, isn't it? Well done, sir. That's real genius.
Don't try and have a debate with anyone on Twitter, mate. They're all lunatics.
It's very, very true. Very true.
Well, the only way I deal with stuff like that is if they fuck me off, I send them a picture of a kitten. I call it Daniel Cowaning them. How do you put an ing on the end of Cowan? Or I just say to them, I've been to 406 games. When you've done more, let me know.
Yeah, I think
what Chris, you're trying to say in summary is, if you think Arsenal are shit, you should go watch Barbican Pirates.
Oi, that is such a low blow, that is, Andrew. That's outrageous. But no, all I'm trying to say is, I mean, it could be worse. I remember 94-95 when we finished 12th below QPR and that lot up the road. I mean, there are worse things happening. We've got a fantastic club with some really fantastic fans, but unfortunately there are always those that just decide to sit in their little houses and bash away at their keyboards with their pants around their ankles and their fingers in cheesy Wotsits, and it's just... Not you, Danny. And it just really bugs me, and I just think that, yeah, okay, if you've got something negative, you want to make an opinion, that's what the game's about, that's what things like this are about, but at least form an educated opinion and have a discussion with someone. Don't just sit there and say, well, he's shit because, well, he's shit. It's mind-numbingly pathetic.
But also, as well, the fans have got the ump. If you like 2 years ago, you told them like within 2 summer transfer windows, you would have bought Ozil, Sanchez, Debussy, like Chambers and all those players. People have gone mental for it. They would have loved it.
Exactly. And they all bitched and complained about, oh, we never do our business early. We go out, we buy 4 players,
Yeah.
and then everyone bitches that we haven't bought another 4.
We've
It's
bought too early.
For Christ's sake, you know, if we, can you imagine what it's going to be like? We're doing a deadline day pod on Monday. Can you imagine what it's going to be like if we're sat here at 11:45, we haven't brought anyone in?
I'll be on the
I mean,
Prozac.
If you remember
Christ.
January's one, we all fucked up at 7 o'clock in the evening.
We'd all had enough. We'd all had enough.
Kallstrom again for another.
God.
Kallstrom.
It's only a matter of time before Salomon Kalou gets into the departure lounge, isn't it?
Right. Speaking of injuries, also in that game we saw Giroud sustained an ankle injury just before the final whistle. We all learned yesterday that the injury would not see Giroud return to the team until January 15th. For more on this, we recorded a short piece earlier with our injury specialist Dom. It's a bloody shocker!
No,
Fucking hell.
no, that's none of you, Dom, are you really? That's a lie, isn't it?
Yes. Just play the audio.
Hold on, I'll just slip it in there.
Thanks, Gim. So, as most of you, or everybody is now aware, Olivier Giroud's got an injury that will be keeping him out until around about January. So I'm just going to quickly give everybody a little bit of an update or a bit of insight into what's exactly happened, or from what I've seen and what I've read has happened. So basically, there was a few reports that came out that said he'd fractured his foot. Then the report said that he'd fractured his ankle. But what he's actually done is fractured his tibia, which is the leg bone. But what he's done is he's fractured it right down the very, very, very base of the tibia where the ankle joint actually attaches. Hence why he's going to be out for so long, because he's going to end up needing surgery, which he's had, I believe. And it really depends on the size of the fracture, the direction the fracture travels in. You can imagine having all of your weight bearing down on that area when it's got a break in it. So an easy way to explain how he ended up getting a fracture in his ankle when the ball hit him in the foot is similar to when if you were to fall over and you have a straight arm and you put your hand out to break your fall, sometimes people will dislocate their shoulder. So it's a similar concept where the force goes through the hand, but it has to end somewhere, and that usually ends up at the shoulder joint. So it's pushing your arm back up into the shoulder joint. I looked at the replay lots and lots of times because, like everybody else, I was a bit miffed at how he'd managed to break something from having a ball kicked into his foot. But his foot was slightly in the air. It hadn't actually been grounded yet. And the ball hit the end of his foot. And so all of that force travelled up the back of his ankle, and it had to end up somewhere. And it just happened to be at the base of his tibia, which is hence why he has the fracture there. The 4 months that he's out for, is obviously due to the surgery, but it's not just as simple as waiting for the fracture to recover and then get back and start running again. I've spoke about this before, an injury in a joint that changes your biomechanics. So the rehab process is a lot more difficult because he has to get back what he's going to lose. So after surgery, he's going to find himself in a boot for 6-8 weeks, not being able to move that joint. So muscle mass disappears, range in that joint disappears, which are all things that he has to work on once the healing process of the actual injury is over. And completely dependent, like I said, on the direction and the angle of the fracture. He may even need to go in for a second surgery to remove screws or pins that get put in, because that would be the reason that they had so many specialists assess what was going on or what their course of action was going to be, is because there's different options that they could take. They could have tried to see if it would heal by itself, but if it doesn't, he's going to need the surgery anyway, and then you've just cost yourself another 4 to 6 weeks. So hence why they've chucked him in for surgery straight away. They've made that decision as the best course to take, and now he's just going to have to go through the reverse process of building up that range, building up that strength, and potentially maybe having a second surgery to remove any pins if they decide to go down that path. So that's basically why it's going to be a 4-month injury when most breaks and fractures only take 4 to 6 weeks to heal. And that's me done, lads. So enjoy the rest of the podcast. Look forward to listening. And back to you, Gimli.
Look, like that was magic. It's like it was here all along. Cheers, Dom.
Thank you, Dom.
Oh, it's brilliant, Dom.
Thanks, Tom.
Right, so I'd like to ask the first question to Rob then. How do you think we can cope without Olivier Giroud?
Oh, we have to buy someone, don't we? That's the only way. Apart from that, it's just going to be a bit of a struggle. Because we need if we don't buy another striker, it's just going to be a struggle and everyone's going to have the ump. But he just needs to buy someone, even if it's a loan for 6 months. It's just get someone in. I think. I mean, how can you cope with that having someone? You just need to buy another one, or just put in Sonogo, and he's not going to be good enough.
Thing is, though, I mean, I put on Twitter this week that I could not deal with watching 4 months of Sonogo's first half against Crystal Palace. Could you just imagine? Oh, my word. But, I mean, what he said after the game is that he looks as Alexis as our main striker for this season. Kris, do you think he can do a job for us?
Alexis on his own, I mean, it's a hell of a pressure to put on a guy who's, again, as echoed a point I made before, a guy who's just come in and is adapting. This is what people seem to forget. He's going to take a couple of months to adapt. I mean, I tend to agree with Rob. I think the option, if the option is there to get someone in to cover, I think that's what we have to do. Listening to Arsenal's interview last night, where he was asked the question about 54 times in 12 minutes from about 12 different reporters. It was quite sad, really, but they all asked him the same question: are you in for Falcao? Are you in for Cavani? Do you want to bring in a striker? And he pretty much said no to everything, and he kept repeating the fact that he's got Sonogo, he's got Campbell, he's got Alexis, who he, in his words, he sees as a striker. And he also mentioned, which I thought was quite interesting, he said, we've also got Theo to come back, and I know he can be a superb striker, which is quite a change from the same manager that pretty much said last year, I don't really see him as a forward yet. In other words, he planned to have him as a forward in the future, which makes me wonder, is he planning to bring Theo back as a striker? And if so, is that his plan, to have him as the sort of centre forward? I think if the option is there for a Miroslav Klose, for example, or for someone of that kind of ilk, to come in and just do, I think I've used this analogy before, but do almost what we did with Davor Suker a few years ago, where you sign a striker that's got European pedigree, he's got goals on his record, he's been around Europe, and he knows sort of where the net is. If you can find a striker of that kind of age, of that kind of experience, that you can say, look, you're not second choice, but you are pretty much coming in for a year contract just to do a job and support us, I would say go for it. I'd say, other than Closer, I can't think of too many that are about that could do that job. But if that option is available, that's what I would do, because I don't think you can rely on Alexis alone.
Well,
injuries as well.
I don't think when Wenger's saying like, oh, when Walcott comes back, he'll play there. Sanchez is my main striker. He might even, if he's in negotiations for anyone, he's not going to say, oh, yeah, I really need a striker. I'm desperate, because then the price has all got up.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
he's got to say that, whether he's going to get a striker or not. That'll be his response. Negotiating for someone like Cavani, he would never say it, would he?
The last thing he's going to do is sit in a press conference and go, Falcao, yeah, I'd like him, I'd like him, I'd like him. I mean, with all due respect, he's not Harry Redknapp. Oh, he's a terrific player, I love him. I mean, he's not going to say that. And exactly what you said there, Rob. As soon as Giroud went down and there was a talk of an injury, every single cash register and every mid-range European club went cha-ching, because the prices went through the roof. And that's, we got to shop smart now, and we've got to shop for the people that are available, if indeed we shop at all.
I mean, one of these players we've seen mentioned is Radamel Falcao. Andrew, I saw you...
Falcao?
You've got an all gav on us there.
No,
Falcao.
Falcao.
Get Ijwan in.
Ijwan. I want Ijwan. Anyway, Andrew, one of the players we've seen talked about is Radamel Falcao. Can you give us a little bit more on that? I saw you talking on Twitter this afternoon about his wages and how much he'd actually cost us.
Well, yeah, I mean, so it was just before the game last night. I was chatting to a guy with FK, who's a journalist, and he's not a sports journalist, just to cover. He works in the news division of a top-selling broadsheet tabloid. Sorry, and he was saying that he heard that the 20 million fee for Falcao was actually 20 million euros, not 20 million pounds. And also, the reports. The Republic report seemed to be that includes his salary and a potential fee to Monaco. So, obviously, if you did the maths on that and you looked at that, the way in which the club, if you look at it from an accountancy perspective and the way the club looks at the cost of a player, without being too boring, the way in which you amortise cost, if you broke that down over, on a weekly basis, it works out that he would cost the club around about £305,000 a week, which is pretty much how much Ozil cost the club by the time you amortise the cost of what we basically paid for him, his £42.5 million signing on fee, and and that's a conservative estimate for Ozil as well, because we know he earns 140k basic, but then at the AST they also talk about how he gets this huge amount of image rights on top of that. So roughly, you're looking what it would cost to have Falcao for one season is what we'd pay. Exactly what we pay for Ozil and exactly what we pay for roughly what we pay for Sanchez as well. So to have a world-class striker in the team who can play in a number 9 position, he's got Champions League experience. And it wouldn't mean having to rely on someone like Sonogo, who obviously hasn't got that experience, and it wouldn't mean having to rely on Sanchez, who isn't a natural centre forward, who would be hoping can adapt to that role. Could be the difference between having a serious title challenge, or not. And I think I know obviously it's not cheap, but he's obviously in the form. He's in the kind of the form years of his life. He's certainly got one of the most. He probably has the best pedigree of any striker in Europe right now. And with him being at the age he has, the cost would take on. It would mean that when he comes to it, potentially at the end of a 4-year deal, we wouldn't have to try and sell him on and then lose a lot of potential value if we spunked 50 million on him now. So, and it would also mean in a year's time we could go in for someone like Marco Reus or another young striker. So I'm not too opposed to it, actually. I think it could make sense for the club, and it's the kind of intelligent deal which we've seen other clubs like Chelsea in the past do. And I think if we signed him, it'd be a huge signing for the club and a real step forward.
I just wanted to jump in quickly on that. One main point and one sort of sub point. Spanner in the works. He's a Puma client. Now that might mean nothing at all, but it might be a question that if the push came to shove and it was a question of, like Andrew mentioned there, image rights, for example, I'm pretty sure that if a large amount of those image rights obviously are through Puma, I'm pretty sure that wouldn't really affect us financially. Because I'm quietly confident that if they knew a player of that ability could come into our club and enhance their brand, I'm pretty confident that they would cover quite a large amount of that. I'm not clued up in any way in that respect, so that's just a guess, but I would imagine that's how it would work. And with regards to his wages, like Andrew said, surely it's a shot to nothing. If you get him in for a season, he's a player that is still working his way back to full fitness. He's 29 now, so arguably his sell-on value is not particularly high. So it's a shot to nothing. If he comes in and he bangs in the goals, and we've got an option to buy, then that's a no-brainer because you just complete the transfer. And if we bring him in and we only get a season loan out of him, if he fires us to the title and then leaves with a golden handshake and goes back to Monaco and then off to Real Madrid, I don't think we're really going to care, are we? So, like Andrew says, if the money's there and it's doable, I would pull the trigger on it 100%.
Sorry, Danny. I was going to say another one of the big price options is Cavani, who is going anywhere between 50 and 60 million. Danny, what I want to ask to you is, why can't we just put the money on the table and go, we need a striker, you've got a striker you want to get rid of, let's have him.
Well, before I answer that, I'd just like to have an alternate view on what we should do. How about we offer every player in the starting 11 100 grand for every goal they score? We'll even have Szczesny having shots at goal. There you go. 300 grand a week on Falcao or Cavani, and we can just say, there you go, Szczesny, you scored a hat-trick today, here's 300 grand for you. I'm sure that would work, give him a bit of incentive. I know back in the day, back in the early 80s, Maradona was on £100,000 a week and 10 grand a goal, which is one of the reasons why he scored so many goals. The reason why, Wenger seems to be playing... I know when I'm playing Football Manager, I don't lie, I may have 60, 70 million pound in the bank, and when they go and say that I've just bought Diego Costa on there, and I had to pay 25 million quid for him, I'm thinking, bloody hell, I don't want to waste all that money. And I'm playing a game that isn't even real. So I think Wenger's got a touch of the Football Manager-itis, where the money isn't his. He's never going to get any of Silent Stan's money if he doesn't spend it, but he's playing with the money like it is his own money. Whereas any other manager would be going, what, 100 million quid? Right, I'll have him. Like Liverpool do. They'll just pay anything for anybody just to get them on the off chance they're half decent. I just think Wenger's been tight.
The thing is, it's funny, I was listening to TalkSport earlier and I saw
Commiserations.
someone phone in Adrian Durham, and he was giving it's the Arsenal board, they won't give Arsene Wenger the money. It's like,
they've come out and said that he's
mate,
spend
you're a
it.
fucking idiot.
He is. I should have run him over when I had the bloody chance. I'm going back to Peterborough again in the next few weeks to see a game, so I'm going to try and mow him down. Allegedly.
On Cavani,
just listen back to this, and then you've got no evidence.
Give on Cavani, by the way, the latest in France is that PSG will not sell him until the January window at the earliest because of Zlatan's out for another 5 weeks with this abdominal injury, and they're desperately trying to shift Lavezzi, and there's interest in Lavezzi from Napoli.
And let me guess, Liverpool were offering 100 million for Lavezzi.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they were actually trying to ship him to Liverpool, but
fucking
apparently
hell.
turned him down because they got Mad Mario. But yeah, I wouldn't say that's definite. But if you ride into Paris and say, look, here's, I don't know, 60 million, they
They're
probably
coming
would
for you,
consider
Kris.
it.
Crimes against football.
They really, really are.
If-
But I can't see him moving, so I think possibly that ship might have sailed if it was even in the water at all.
Rob,
If
why do...
Lavezzi goes to, sorry, just to butt in there.
Okay.
If Lavezzi goes to Napoli, does that open up a chance for a cheeky bid for Higuain?
Higuain, yeah,
I can hear
it was.
Gav turning in his grave now.
It's already being reported that we're back in for him, so I'm sure Gav is doing a little merry hop. But yeah,
I was going to ask Rob, why do you think Wenger doesn't just go and spend all the money available? Why doesn't he want to do it?
I think he's quite stubborn. He doesn't want to seem to be like bullied into going to buy someone just because the papers are saying we need to buy someone. And I think as well, he doesn't look at it as I'll spend this and I can move on to another club. I think he takes it on his shoulders as all that money. He's part and parcel of keeping the balance sheet straight as well as just results. So I think he's, and also I think he likes to believe in his players and give them that confidence. And if you're just going about buying loads of players, the young players will sort of, I don't think they'll trust him as much, if that makes sense.
And Rob, your views on the possibility of signing Danny Welbeck?
I mean, I'd take him at this point.
Really?
He'd take anyone at this point.
I know you're a comedian, but that's a bit much.
Oh,
I don't think he's that bad. I mean,
did you not
I
see
think I'm
it?
just saying that because there's no other striker we can buy. But-
MK Dons, literally, he got threaded through a through ball, literally in the area. All he had to do was pull the trigger, and his first touch, he missed the ball.
Really?
Jesus. Yeah, the man is an absolute donkey.
did the little boy in him
How
cry?
many goals did he score last season? Do we know?
Too many.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's the problem though, isn't it? Who else? And then, so he's probably thinking that as well. Well, Remy's available, but he doesn't want Remy because he could have had him for 8 million, a month ago. So, I don't know. It's just not a lot of options, is there?
Well, why would you not think that he didn't see Balotelli going? And the reports were saying that we'd agreed a 24 million fee with him, and then we got put off with his performances at the World Cup. Surely 16 million for Balotelli is an absolute snip, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but then I think he's all about harmony, isn't he, Wenger, and all that kind of malarkey. And he's not going to want to bring in someone like Balotelli who can just shift it because we had all that trouble before, didn't we, with when Adebayor and Alex Song, and there was a divide. I think he's got quite a tight team, and having someone so, obviously the headlines that will bring the attention and the upset in the dressing room. I think he thought it was too big a risk for someone who Sturridge still did better than him last season. He's not as if you're guaranteed 35 goals a year like you are with Suarez. He's brilliant, Balotelli, but he's not as deadly as he could or should be.
And do we all have faith that he will bring in a striker, or do we think that it's going to be smash and grab? He's going to get what he wants, Danny?
Beckett got 10 in 31 last season. I did type it in there for you to read out and try and make it look like you knew, but you fucking ignored me.
I was going to you anyway, so there was no point.
How dare you? I think he's going to have to get someone. I think in previous years, Arsenal were never known as a club that would loan players, and then we had a rash. I mean, the last one we loaned was we got Jim Leighton from Man United once as a goalkeeper, and then we had Julio Batista, and that was really the most he'd ever really loaned from anybody. I mean, he didn't even loan Leighton, did he? That was George Graham's days. But then last season he showed he had Yossi Benayoun a few years ago. Last season we had a couple of loans, so I think he's realised that is a half decent market to go into as long as I ain't injured when we loan them. So then there is a half decent market there for people to come and loan players out if you want them. And I think, like Andrew was saying, that I'd like to see Cavani on loan for a season because, I mean, like you're saying, that 300 million quid, 300 million, no, 300 grand a week.
Not that rich.
Yeah, 300 grand a week would work out. Was that for one season if we had him on loan, Andrew?
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
the crossover.
I like the idea of that. So there you go, that's what I'd do.
Okay, Kris, do you think that we'll sign a striker?
A striker, on my heart of hearts, I'm not so sure. I still think the centre back and the fabled DM is probably the two that we're likely to be in for the most. Particularly the DM from all the bits and bobs I've heard. But I think with the striker, if at all, as I sort of alluded to earlier, I think it'll be somebody that either happens to become available very late. I think was it the last transfer? It might have been the last two. There's this sort of domino effect with the top clubs in Europe. Yes, Tottenham, that's top clubs in Europe, whereby if a player moves on, i.e. a Cavani or a Falcao, if one of those moves, you'll probably see the club who've let them go replace them. The club that get the club off, replace their player. It's a bit of a domino effect, and I'm wondering if someone like Fernando Llorente at Juventus, I'm wondering about somebody like him possibly on a loan contract. He came into it really good form with Juventus at the end of last season, but there is talk in Italy that they're after Falcao as well.
Which is why they're after Podolski as well, because they want someone new up front.
And Hernandez, they've come out as...
How about my tweet that my legendary probably the best tweet I've done ever, and I've been on the Twitter for 5.5 years, where I tweeted last night, Celtic have been knocked out of the Champions League more times in a month than Tottenham have in 131 years.
Very true. I just wonder if a deal like that, I mean that could be. I posted on our Facebook page. I posted this morning a couple of pictures of faces we've been linked to, and it's sort of people. There's a lot of strikers. People say there's not strikers out there.
Zigic. You put a picture of Zigic up, and Jason got the didn't he?
No,
just for a laugh.
Jeff has said that Zigic is rubbish, so we must go with Lord Jeff on this one.
Absolutely, and I hope Jeff is right.
My cat could have told you Zigic was shit, which is why Birmingham let him go.
Zigic's agent has got him a pay rise for the last 3 years in a row or something ridiculous.
Well, Birmingham have let him go now, haven't they? He left at the end of the season.
Agent. I don't think Zigic...
It's rubbish, though.
I wonder about... Jackson Martinez is still one that's on the radar. I know there's talk that he might end up at Milan because they need to replace Balotelli, but the Llorente one I could really see happening because Juventus are not particularly blessed with a lot of money, which was half the reason why Conte walked out, because he couldn't get the players he wanted. Llorente's on a huge contract. He's very much the same stature and sort of positional sense and style that Giroud has. He's a very similar height and sort of he just puts himself about. He's that kind of striker.
So we missed 7 out of every 10 attempts.
But do we need another player that's going to be really hard to try and name, to type their name? I don't like all these four. Unless he changes his name to Gary or Terry, I'm not having it. I don't want him.
2 L's, 2 E's. That's what you got to remember. But I think that would be an option. Other than that, I could only see somebody that, as mentioned before, somebody that's a bit of a journeyman. Closer would be the one that leaps to mind just because of his age and the money.
And German, and it'll fit in with the rest of the Germans.
And German, yeah. Or you never know with us, and he could just say, "Okay, let's just go and get someone completely random that no one's ever heard of." Who that could be, I don't know. But to answer the question, if I had to put money on it, I would say no to the striker, but yes to the other 2 positions.
They'll probably get some Iranian 7-year-old to play up front.
Well, how about maybe what Chelsea are doing? Rob, you know Chelsea have brought Drogba back. Would you like to see Henry back at the club until after Christmas?
No, not after what he did at the Leeds game. I think that's we can't get him back again because nothing will be as good as that.
It'd be like bringing out a sequel to like The Godfather or something like that, isn't it? Where all the other ones are rubbish. Or Alien versus Predator. The first one was brilliant, and the second one was rubbish.
Exactly.
The first was not brilliant.
Well, I think the Drogba thing, I think they're going to regret that because they're never going to get the best out of him. If you scored the winning penalty in a Champions League final, you can't compete with that. He should have left it.
Yeah, I think there is a certain amount of ruining your own legend.
I mean, how much is he on? About 150 grand a week for 10 minutes ago. It's like one of Rooney's grannies, isn't it?
Jesus.
At this point, I really feel that we should go to Andrew. Do you think that we will sign the striker?
How dare you?
I can't believe people still do Rooney Nan jokes. I mean, she's probably dead now, the woman he had sex with.
She had a sister, though. A younger sister.
She got a second hip done off the back of that paper story.
I tell you, she's going round now on a little scooter with a little yappy dog. Oh, happy as Larry.
Blinged up scooter.
Oh, I'll tell you what, you ain't wrong. Honk, honk.
He probably stole it. He probably stole a bus pass as well, the cunt.
He's gone for the C word.
The quietest man on the podcast just pops up, drops the C word, fucks off.
The captain of the England national team like that, mate.
Oh, I've given up supporting England now. That twat's captain. I'm going to go and support Azerbaijan or someone like that.
Faroe Isles.
Germany.
Oh, well, I do like a bit. We do know I like a bit of the Germans.
See, I found out, right, when England went out of the World Cup, I found out that I was part Italian, so I went to the Italians. And, yeah, fuck it, the rest is history. Andrew, will we sign a player?
I mean, I think there's definitely no question that we're going to bring in some reinforcements, whether or not they're of the quality which a lot of the fans on Twitter or any social media are kind of asking for and demanding, or not is going to be a question left to be desired. I guess no one at this point last year was really expecting the Mesut Özil deal to come in after what was a pretty frankly disappointing summer up until that point. So I think there's no point having too much of a meltdown just yet. As Kris alluded to, the dominoes that still might fall. Some of the bigger clubs, like we don't know, are Real Madrid going to come in for another striker or a centre forward? Benzema's completely off form there. If Falcao moves, where's he going to go? What's the sell-on going to be from there? Obviously, Man U are still going to be heavily in the market as well, and they're kind of maybe in for a couple of positions that we are, looking at holding midfielders. There's talk that they're in for Carvalho now. Obviously, he's been linked to us quite heavily, and they're obviously in for centre-backs. I think, obviously one thing at the start of the window, a lot of people were saying, look at Wenger now, he's got this 120 million pound to spend, so let's judge him at the end of the transfer window. They're saying this is the first time he's had money. And I guess depending on which paper, you wipe your arse with, we spent anywhere between 30 and 40 million net this summer. So there's still, a gargantuan amount of, a gargantuan pot there to spend. So, it would seem, ridiculous if we didn't bring in another centre forward at this stage. We needed one already, but even before Giroud's injury, we needed another centre forward. We couldn't rely on Sonogo to be your second choice centre forward. If we played Real Madrid away in the Champions League semi-final and Giroud's injured, it's just not good enough. So it's only highlights, and I think we're quite lucky in a way that, if Giroud was going to pick up an injury, at least it's happened at a point where we can mediate it in the transfer window. There's still, there's money there to be spent. Whether or not we do go and invest that in a world-class centre forward, or whether we invest that in a journeyman, we'll see. But you'd like to think at the very least we bring in a holding midfielder of top pedigree who maybe can fill in at centre back, or we bring in a top midfielder and then a centre back like Alderweireld, who we've been linked with, who's obviously going to be a squad player. But
is that Toby bloke?
Yeah.
I had no idea how you said his name. How do you say it?
Well, I pronounced Alderweireld, but
there you go. I had no
I'm
idea.
from the West Country,
Pretty much bang on.
No.
But I know Wenger was scouting him quite a lot when he was at Ajax. Obviously, we were watching Vertonghen, Vermeulen, and Alderweireld at the time. And Wenger has, we have looked at him before, and we've we've spoken to him before. Obviously, he hasn't cut it at Madrid, but Atletico. But then the defence they had, it was hard to ever see him breaking in there. So, with 70 million at least still there to spend, it'd be hard to see Wenger not investing. Now that we've got the guaranteed Champions League money, that's an extra 20 to 30 million a year. With the increased revenue from Emirates we're going to see this year, Puma this year, from our sponsorships with Vitality, Jean Richard, from the increase in television money. Realistically, we're not going to win anything with a huge cash reserve sat in the bank. We're going to win it with having the players on the pitch that are going to deliver the success. And so you'd like to think that Arsene Wenger's now going to go and bring in those 2 or 3 players, which I think we need if we're going to compete.
I think so. Rob, seeing as you're the only one left to answer this one.
What's that? What's the question? I forgot the question.
So have I, and I'm listening.
I was just talking about transfers. Was there a specific
Yes.
question?
Do you think we will sign a striker?
No.
Shit, that was easy.
You woke him up for that? How dare you?
No, I think we'll sign a couple of players, and I don't think we will. I want to, but to be fair, there's not, like we said before, there's not a lot of quality options out there without spending like 70 million, and they might not even be available. So I can't see it happening. I reckon he'll plough on till Giroud gets back, and then if he's still out or whatever, we might try in January. But no, I don't reckon we will.
Oh, God forbid, I hope we do. Kris, I know you've got one final last thing to say on this before we do a bit of a Q&A with Rob.
Yeah, just a sort of final observation. A lot of people were sort of predictably whinging on Twitter the last couple of weeks, saying, "Oh, Wenger's leaving it too late. He's going to leave it too late to buy anyone." There was a lot of.
I recognise that voice.
I was going to say in that accent as well. There was a lot of talk that that people started to get the rumour going around. I know that our Jeff pretty much kiboshed this one, but there was a lot of talk going around as that. Oh, we'll wait till we get in the Champions League, then we'll decide who we can sign because we'll be able to offer Champions League football. I'd like to look at it from the other perspective and say, what about the people that we're looking at? Maybe they were looking at us and saying, actually, we'll decide whether we want to sign for you when we know if you've got Champions League football. It works both ways.
Good point, yeah.
And I think when you're looking at, for example, a Lars Bender, If Leverkusen had have done the unthinkable and crashed out last night, obviously they blitzed Copenhagen and comfortably through. But had they not have done, Lars Bender's price would have probably been cut in half, and that could have opened the door to that. But on that same side, have a look at Napoli. Obviously, they went out last night. Higuain has already come out and said that he's not particularly chuffed about the fact they've gone out. So I hate to say it, but that could crop up again next week. But they've got other players that could well move on for quite a cheap price. Gökhan Inler is one that we were linked with 4 years ago. He's still a big nasty bastard in the middle of the midfield. I would absolutely love him.
Are those players not cup tied, Chris? You know the what? 'Cause there was a thing with Michael Owen years ago at Liverpool. I'm not sure of how that works now, because we mentioned Higuain earlier. Would he be able to play for us in the Champions League now?
It's the one. It's I was going to say it's the one thing that I'm not 100% sure on, because some people say yes, some people say no. Because some people are saying because it's a preliminary round that they wouldn't be cup tied. But I don't know if that's
the rule
true.
is if you get knocked out of the Champions League when you finish third in the group, then you are allowed to, because those teams go into the UEFA Cup. At that point, you can then play in both tournaments, I think, but not until the next round begins.
But it's never put Wenger off signing a player that's been cup tied before, has it? Was it Adebayor that we signed that we couldn't use in the Champions League the season we got him?
I think Arshavin's
another one, yeah. So, if Wenger looks at it and thinks, well, I can get by in the Champions League because Alexis' style in particular suits the European game a lot more, that was proved last night. So, if he thinks, well, Champions League-wise, I'm all right for strikers, but I could do with somebody who can do me a job at Premier League level, that could sort of twist his arm. So Napoli would be the club I would watch with regards to ins and outs. But yeah, I just thought I'd make that point because it's easy to say what about our Champions League football, but also what about the players that are looking at potentially eyeing us up and saying, well, Sami Khedira will be the one that leaps to mind, although with Alonso moving on, I'm not sure he'll go anywhere. But
If I tell you what, Chris, if we sign Lars Bender, then I'll quite happily buy you a shirt and put Bender on the back of it for you.
Brilliant, thanks, mate. That's love.
That's no worries. That's love right there.
Thanks.
Yes. Seeing as we've got Rob on the show, we'd like to ask some questions about how you started supporting Arsenal and your fondest memory of the club. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay, so fantastic. We'll start off by asking, where did your Arsenal journey begin?
It's quite deep, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit.
I've got 4 brothers, and one's an Arsenal fan, 3 are Crystal Palace fans. So I'm South London, but my dad never took us football. But my older brother liked him, and I got his old Arsenal shirt. So then I liked Ian Wright, so I just started supporting Arsenal from there. And then we went to a couple of games and stuff. So it was sort of, I don't know, it's weird when your dad's not into football. Because you just follow your dad, don't you, normally? That's how I normally find it. But, it was just to follow my older brother, and I loved Ian Wright, and that sort of sealed the deal for me, really.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't support my old man's team. He's a Liverpool fan. God,
Oh,
can you imagine? The next one, what is your proudest moment as an Arsenal fan?
Proudest moment?
Yeah.
I think I like the 97-98 double winning team. I love that. And just Tony, that was the year Tony Adams scored against Everton, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
4-1.
4-1, and I think Bold chipped it through or something like that, and then he volleyed it in. And that I think that really, because how old was I then? I was 11 then, so that was when I was really starting to get really obsessed by football, and we were just like the best team. It was just such a good team with because it had like the proper English core, and then it had like the Vieiras and the Bergkamps and stuff like that. So I think that was like that end of that season. I had that recorded on VHS until my brother recorded over it for like Beatles About or something. I was furious.
That was my favourite season and my favourite goal, and I was
not soldier,
and I was there that day.
Yeah, what's his name goes fishing? Robson Green goes fishing. So that was amazing.
Yeah, Robson Green extreme fishing.
Yeah, how extreme can it be, mate? Unless you just catch it with your hands.
We'll move on to the next.
You missed a golden opportunity there, Kim. Rob's just said that was one of his favourite moments. And in that game, the person who scored the first goal, and when we beat Everton 4-0 that day, Slaven Bilic.
Yeah.
Manager of Besiktas, who we beat last night. Oh, synchronicity.
Boom.
Ask him that one again, Gim. Well,
All right.
leave a gap for about 5 seconds of no noise. Then it's easy for me to see it on when I'm editing. Then ask him that question.
And the next one, who is your favourite all-time player and why?
I forgot. Am I supposed to be leaving a 5-second pause there?
Yeah, might as well.
Yeah.
He's lively.
He's picked up the speed that sometimes it takes people 60 pods to get up with us, and he's done it in half hour.
Do you know what? We're normally only used to journos who have no personality. This way, we're on the back foot already.
Do you need to ask that again, or shall I answer?
Oh, we'll leave all this in.
Seriously, when no one's looking at you, it's like being in a classroom and the teacher tells you to do work and then fucks off. I'm supposed to. No one's looking at me. I'm like a naughty kid. I'm sitting on my bear. No one even knows.
Is this your 7'6" bear?
7'9", mate. Come on.
Is he?
Right. Do you want me to answer that again about doing the right thing?
Go on.
Yeah, if you let me answer, I'll ask it and then you answer it
straight.
away.
No 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Answer it before he's even finished asking the question. So then, Rob, who's your favourite? In right.
Fuck off.
Why? Because he's legends.
Does there need to be a 5-second gap after you ask me a question?
No, just Gimli has to leave a gap so now I know where to edit and you can just
you're
answer.
just being fucking lazy, mate.
Oh, no.
Yes, he's a right lazy cunt.
Oh, feeling the love.
That's a Christmas edit if ever I've seen one. Right, 3, 2, 1, 5-second pause. So, Rob, who's your favourite player of all time and why?
I honestly, am I supposed to be leaving a pause? No one answered me. No, all right. Ask me again and I'll answer it.
Okay, right. So, Rob, who's your favourite player of all time and why?
My favourite player of all time is Ian Wright because he's just so happy, isn't he? He looks like he loved it so much and he tried so hard and he was quality. That's why. And the fact that when he got the record, well, he equalled the record of all-time goal scorer, he took his top off and it was wrong because he hadn't scored it. Only Ian Wright could get away with that without being laughed at.
Yeah, what a legend.
Yeah.
And what positions do you think we need to strengthen in this window?
I think defensive midfield is more important than a striker, just because I think Arteta's got, his legs are going a bit, and I think we just need some strength in there and a bit of pace, because I still think we'll get goals. We might not have a striker that scores 35 goals, but we'll get goals from midfield and attack. So I think a defensive midfield is more important than a striker.
Fair enough. And finally, before we go on to Twitter and Facebook questions, what do you think we can realistically hope for this season?
I reckon, I don't think we're going to win the league, but I reckon second or third.
Fantastic. Danny and Kris, you've got the next set of questions. Over to you.
Go on in, Kris.
Okay, I'll start with, I'll pluck one off Facebook to start with.
If I'd have known that, I'd have asked one because I'm prepared.
Oh, are you? Well, I have got one here, so it's all
Is
good.
there anything to do with Slave and Bilic? I don't want to know.
It's
If that gets in the edit or not. Do you want me to do a pause so you can edit it out?
do a 5-second pause, please.
Watch your laptop. It's already going a bit Pete-tong.
Oh, no.
It's quite a light-hearted one. I've got 3 others here that I'll do after Danny's done, which are more sort of professional. But I'll start with
No,
this
I've got
one.
these off of Twitter. They make no sense, any of them.
Quality. Well, this one was from Matt Hulk Mountford on Facebook, and he wanted to ask which Arsenal player, past or present, would you most like to have on your side in a bar fight?
Oh, that's a good question, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Tony Adams is pretty hard, isn't he?
very.
Not according to Dave Hillier.
True.
Dave Hillier said the hardest player in his time at Arsenal was Steve Bold by quite some distance.
Oh, yeah, he does look hard, doesn't he?
You don't fuck with him.
But I do quite like Giles Gramondi. I don't know what it's about. I know he's not as hard as Bold, but there's something about Giles Gramondi where he looks like he would bite. So, Bold, yeah, well, if David Hillier says Bold's the hardest player he's ever... I don't know. I've got a soft spot for Giles Gramondi. Any man that just gets brought on to beat people up at the end of a game, I think, you've got to give him some respect.
It's hard to disagree. Danny, do you want to take one?
Okay. Reese Ivy says, what was your first Arsenal game that you went to?
Yeah, I looked this up the other day. It was, I can't remember exactly when, I was quite young. It was Arsenal-Tottenham, and it was, I think it might have been 96. It was a 0-0 draw at Highbury, and they were throwing, it was all kicking off, and they were like ripping up chairs and throwing them because we were quite near the away end. So it was a 0-0 draw at Arsenal-Tottenham. And,
there you go. 15th of April 1996, 0-0 at Highbury. Is that it?
Where's that? Where have you got that from?
My memory.
Have you got like a Matrix thing in your nut where it just sort of downloads what you need?
So he just sits there and wanks all day and looks at
Oi!
Wikipedia. That's how he knows this stuff.
Hey, I'm a night owl. It's night time. It's Scott Marshall.
Nil draws.
Huh?
He was wanking over 0-0 draws.
Well, Slaven Bilic.
In the
Different
bath.
type of draws you're after, mate.
If that game was probably momental for one reason, Scott Marshall played at the back with Keown and Linnigan.
Big Scotty Marshall.
Oh, I don't even remember that, mate. I was just dodging chairs from the Tottenham fans.
Just make it up. No one will know.
And diseases, probably.
And Ronnie Rosenthal played for them. Oh, bless him.
Big Ronnie.
He was good. That goal he missed for Liverpool. Oh, legend.
Crossbar.
Go on then, Chris. Another question.
I got this is actually from myself. I was intrigued to ask this one. A lot of people, I'm sure we've all come across these people when you meet and you're growing up and your mates. Everyone fancies themselves as a comedian in the pub, particularly, and everyone seems to think that they're quite funny. What was it that made you decide at any point in your life that you were sort of funny enough to get into the business and take it up as a profession? What was the key thing that made you decide to go into that type of work?
I never really thought I was that funny or realised I was that funny because all my family are the same as me. So if you came around for a Sunday lunch, it was just everyone's the same as me with the same sort of messing about and being silly. But it was only when I used to go to Up the Creek Comedy Club every Sunday to watch it. And I think looking back, I used to watch so much comedy. But then we're watching this open mic, like doing 5 minutes open mic act, and he was awful, like absolute dog shit. And I remember watching it going, there's no way I can be as bad as that, and even if I am as bad as that, he's not getting booed off. So I went and just put my name down and did it. I just think, you think that he's no good, I can do better than that. And then, just went and did it, and then it just sort of, like I say, I did it as a hobby for a bit of fun, then did some competitions that went well, so it's just like a hobby that's got out of hand. And now it's just what I do all the time. So, it was just watching someone that was awful, and you go, I can do better than that.
Ideal.
Who are your comedy inspirations then?
Alan Davis... Peter Kay, Billy. It was Billy Connolly and Richard Pryor.
I love Billy.
I love to bits. And then I started going, I didn't relate to it because I'm not, a nutter from Scotland or survived racism in LA like Richard Pryor and his drug addiction. And then when I started watching Peter Kay and Alan Davis, I was like, oh, you can just be a normal bloke and be funny. You don't have to have this crazy past and amazing stories. You can just make, silly little things funny. And like Alan Davis's Urban Trauma and other lyrics are two of the funniest bits of stand-up. They're so good. It's so weird because I've met him a few times, and he's the only person I'm like a little girl, like, when you're a bit of like a fangirl, going, oh, hello. And I still like shit myself when I speak to him and stuff, just because it was like the Don for me watching the stand-up. So, yeah. So, because I can remember I was going to watch Arsenal, and I was at High Islington Station, and he came out, and I met him once before at a gig, and he went, hello, Rob, and I thought it was just going to be like a hello and walk off, and he come and stood with me and spoke to me for about 20 minutes, and the whole time I was like, oh, yeah. And then he walked off, and I was so nice, because he could have easily just gone, hello, mate, and walked off. There was no need for him to have a chat, and then he went to me, oh, what was you being funny on the other night? I was like, oh, my God, Alan Davis just watched me on something. And stuff like that. So those two, really, those four were the main four that I used to watch loads growing up.
You sound a bit like Jason last week when he was sort of the Dave Hillier.
Oh, really?
It was wonderful. Jason's an old man, and he was salivating and all excited about talking to one of his footballing heroes in Hillier, who we all love. He's a lovely bloke.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it, when you get to because I do this Absolute Radio show on a Sunday.
Yeah, I've heard it.
I met Ian Wright, and I was so rubbish. Normally, I'm quite confident and chatty. I was just like, you're like, so what was your era? What did you like in football? And I was like, I had a photo of you on my wall, like that, and it just sounded so rubbish. I just wanted to be really cool, but it didn't work. But he's such a lovely bloke. But yeah, when you meet someone you look up to, it's really...
Do you want to tell people about your podcast that they can download, about your Absolute Radio podcast?
Oh, yeah. You can download that. That's just called Rob Beckett, I think. There's a podcast with my stupid face on it somewhere in the ether.
Being a comedian, Rob, I got a joke for you.
Oh, God, here we go. I'll get the tumbleweed ready. Everyone brace yourselves.
No, every week.
Crash positions.
What did the gay horse eat?
Oh.
Oh, hey!
Yeah!
Oh, the other night because we got a WhatsApp group with all of us in it, and all it is everyone doing their own version of that. So I was playing it to my daughter, and she just looked at me, said, "What a bunch of twats," and walked off. Shaking her head.
We could get back to serious questions.
Okay, right. Friend of the pod, Aaron Farrell says, "What side of the fence are you on in relation to Arsene Wenger? On, you want him in or you want him out?"
In, and I'm not on the fence. I definitely want him in. I think he's brilliant. He's not perfect. No one is. Do you know what I mean? My mum and dad do me head in, but they're all right. And you just got to. What he's done in 7 years of the Champions League, and we needed him to push on and start buying players and spending a lot, and he has done, to be fair, and I think we're still progressing in the right way. There was a dip a few years ago, but I'm definitely, I don't think there's anyone better that we could swap him with at the moment.
Go on, Chris.
Cool. Yeah, I've got another one here. As a professional footballer, obviously you're well aware, watching games, that they get a lot of abuse and a lot of, I guess, what you would class as heckling, sort of as a comic. Does it affect your mindset when you go and watch Arsenal games? Do you sort of think twice before you shout anything at a player because you sort of think, well, I know what it's like? Does that even come into your mind, or are you just like us and sort of react?
It does a bit, actually, because I never, before I did anything with going on telly or radio and stuff where you open yourself up for criticism, you just sort of go, oh, that bloke is shit or whatever, and you type a message and you don't really realise that that's just a bloke. There's not some sort of untouchable superhuman that's, confident and nothing can get to him, and it does. And, as much as that footballers say they don't read their press or don't go on Twitter, I doubt none of them do at all. I'm sure they do a bit, and it does get through to them. And I've definitely calmed down a bit and realised, he may not be playing well, but it's not like he's chosen not to, is it? It's like I never go and do a gig and go, tell you what, today I might just be a bit shit. I'm always trying the best I can, and as much I doubt there's any players that aren't trying at all. I mean, there must be some that can't be bothered to put shifting, but I think in the main, I think they're all trying their best, and I just don't think it doesn't help. And that's like when I get stuff on Twitter, if anyone's rude or aggressive towards me, it's an instant block, and I don't even bother with it. And people think that's a bit harsh, but I haven't got time to allow negativity. Do you know, it's hard enough doing what you do. So have someone slagging you off, I just don't bother with it. And I think it's definitely made me think more about you can't. It's horrible just shouting at someone for being shit. And that the Bruce has Aaron Ramsey got, and now everyone loves him. Do you know what I mean? And the fact that he's not gone, I told you arseholes, it's taken a lot from him just to plough on. Do you know what I mean? So I think I always try and be a bit nicer if they're not doing as well.
He'd have had every right to have said that as well, just for the record.
Yeah. The abuse he used to get, poor sod.
Right, I've got one here from Lee Dempster, who says, Arsenal to win the Champions League or Rob to play a sold-out Emirates Stadium 20 nights in a row.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'd pick the 20 nights in a row because I can't stand the Champions League. I don't care about it. I'd rather win the League Cup.
To be honest, if I did Emirates 20 nights on the bounce, I reckon I could buy Cavani. So I'll do that, and just as a thank you, I'll give you Cavani and you win the league, win the Champions League next year. You can't turn down 20 nights at the Emirates. Because I think we'll win it anyway at some point.
Eventually. Yeah. And Andrew, you want to ask Rob something?
Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to ask, how much of the fresh comedy from this podcast are you going to plagiarise for your next stand-up?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. After that baked bean debacle at the start, I nearly turned off my computer. I thought, you've got to plough on, haven't you?
Oh, there you go. You can have it. You have it for free.
And one last serious question is: would you ever wear a shirt with Bully's face on it?
Probably not. No.
Would you wear underpants with Bully's face on it?
None of that really. I'd probably just go for plain if I could. You
got any more questions, Chris?
I got one more. Incidentally, by the way, for all of you iTunes lovers, you can find Rob's podcast. If you just put in Rob Beckett in the search bar, it comes up. So there's a little plug for you there, Rob.
Oh,
I only say that because I use iTunes and it's doing my fucking head in at the moment.
Everything's doing your head in, isn't it? You lot need to fucking chill out.
We're just so angry. We're just angry people.
Just relax.
And Spurs have just scored again. It's getting worse. The apocalypse is coming.
Oh, shut up, you.
2-0.
If you wanted to listen to my radio show, you'd have to just turn it on the day. Now you're moaning about the search bar on iTunes.
Just sit in a quiet room.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on iTunes. I'll end up in a rant. I'll ask you my final question, and it's actually from my missus. So shout out to Gemma.
Hello.
She wanted to know. You've kind of touched on it a little bit with the Alan Davis comment, but she wanted to know if you've ever been starstruck, or if the most famous person you've ever met, where you've just properly gone, wow.
Well, yeah, I've met probably Alan Davis or Ian Wright, really, which is a bit sad, isn't it? Fucking Jonathan Creek.
Not at all.
Creek.
No, two legends.
No, but yeah, probably because I've met like I say, I've met a couple of famous people like Pharrell. I interviewed Pharrell Williams, but I'm not really into his music, so it don't bother me. Like, and Harry Styles, I met Harry Styles at the Arsenal actually. Harry Styles, one of his good mates, Ben Winston, which you might know of. He's a producer of One Direction stuff, a big Arsenal fan. He takes
Fantastically Arsenal podcast, very good.
But I don't. But I didn't. It didn't bother me. It's just a bloke, isn't it? I'm not into One Direction music, so it's all what affects you, isn't it? So Jonathan Creek and Ian, right.
It's only fair that we ask what sort of music you do like at this juncture.
What kind of music do I like?
Yeah,
I like Arctic Monkeys, Smiths, and Oasis are probably my three favourite bands at the moment. George Ezra, he's really good. I don't know if you got his album. It's good. The new Kasabian one. But I'm probably the worst person to talk to, as I get plenty of stick from being a metalhead. So I'm probably the worst person to ask. Mate, I'm too smiley for metal. That's why you're all angry. Your head aches.
You don't like. I get grief when I say I like Coldplay.
Oh dear.
There you go. There's the tumbleweed. It was about 5 minutes late, but it's fucking here now.
Oh, a bit of you
To be honest, mate, it's only because you're telling them when you're laying down in a bath with a fake tan thing above your knob. I like Coldplay. Get dressed, mate, and get out my house.
If you've got to put the picture of you in the bath on YouTube just so people can see how nasty it is.
So I will. Got to get myself a wife. I need to start procreating. I'm not getting any younger.
Well, you're not going to do it unless you get some weights, my friend.
How dare you?
Mate, maybe Rob can have it on like the back when he comes out.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, maybe when you come out to your next stand-up, you can have the big picture of Danny.
Can you imagine?
God.
He wants to sell some tickets.
Yeah, I'll go down. Live at the Apollo, BBC.
Say it's some kind of charity thing. They're trying to free me.
It's just there's that photo you sent me of you in that bath. There's just far too much pubic region. I'd rather see your knob rather than just all the horrible land mass around it.
No, you couldn't. You can't distinguish it one from the rest of them because I have some grey ones and they look like my little winkle.
Oh my god.
Right, so do you want the last question from Twitter? Do you want a stupid one or do you want a sensible footballing one?
Oh, let's go silly. It's more fun, isn't it?
All right, Gary the Grooner, who is well known for looking at the moon and trying to grab it with both hands, says, so you want a clean and Arsenal-related question. So which Arsenal player would you most like to shower with, Rob?
Oh, probably Cazorla. He must have a little peanut of a dick.
Can I ask one more? Which I normally ask our guest off of air. But if you're stood on a roof...
Oh god.
behind Bully and Hugh Wizzy, you've got a sniper rifle but only one bullet. Which one?
So I'm on the roof. You cut out then at that point. I'm on the roof with a sniper rifle. Who am I aiming at?
Bully and Hugh Wizzy. Which one do you take out?
What I'll try and do is get them walking past each other at the same time, go through their heads at the same time.
That's a cracking answer. Do you know what? That's up there with I'd let them fight to the death and then shoot the winner.
I must say at this point, I like Hugh Wizzy. I've spoke to him a few times. He's a very nice bloke. Bully, though, I'm the only bearded gooner. Have that.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll start the back end of the podcast by talking about last night's 1-0 home win against Besiktas.
Bless you.
For his... Don't start.
Not again.
His thoughts will go straight over to Andrew.
Yeah, I might have sounded maybe slightly negative after the Everton game, and Kris put me in my place, and I felt very guilty. So on the flip side, I thought last night I was at the game last night where I sit just behind Wenger, and it was fantastic. The crowds were absolute heroes as well. There was a lot of talk before the game in my office about how the typical Arsenal fans are going to be outsung by Besiktas, but that wasn't the case. I think the players performed excellently, and the crowd rose to the occasion as well. As a team, we looked, far more compact in midfield. We were pressing higher up the field. Our usage of the ball in terms of passing was a lot more spot on. And against Everton, we looked like we couldn't handle their intensity. Whereas against Besiktas, it was completely, the other way around. We were the ones setting the tempo in the game. And, we carried the ball out of defence very well. I think having Koscielny back was obviously very reassuring. Demba Ba was kind of restricted to, the odd one or two kind of off chances. And as a team, we attacked, with a lot of fluidity. Perhaps, if you were going to be, negative, you could say our finishing was a little bit wayward. And, we could have been punished by a better team for, kind of the chances which we missed. But, I thought as a team, we played extremely well. There was a lot of passion in there. Flamini and Wilshere, I think particularly, drove the team forward. it was nice to see Cazorla back in the centre again. You know, I think in his first season he was really effective for us. He won Player of the Year in that number 10 centre role, and then he's kind of, you know, chipped out to the left wing last year. Whereas he kind of Wenger last night gave that responsibility the way around and let Cazorla play in the middle. And you know, that was great to see. I think his link-up play with Chamberlain was solid. Chamberlain was enthusiastic throughout, and one player who I just wanted to also big up, who is I don't usually rate too highly, and that was Nacho Monreal. I thought he was, you know, excellent last night. He prevented a lot of crosses coming over. He covered for Ozil very well. He got forward. He brought Flamini into the game as well. And it was fantastic to see. It was just a great all-round performance. And as I said, I think the fans were fantastic. And then there was a little bit right at the end, which I really liked, as Arsene Wenger, when he turned around, because where I stood, you know, right behind him, as I say, and he kind of just started punching the air. And I've never seen that from him in a long time. And it was a great night, a great night at the Emirates.
And there were a few shaky moments, weren't there, Kris? There was a couple of 20p, 50p moments going on.
Do you know, you just took the quote out of my mouth, so I was going to say the exact same thing. If our Dom was here, I'm sure he'd come out with a perler.
Just
by
shows
now.
how uncouth we are on this show.
Absolutely. It was really nervous. I watched it with a fellow pirate, no pun intended, my friend Dan, and we were sat here, me chugging away on the non-alcoholic lager, and him sort of hiding behind the sofa. It was a real nervous game, and it probably shouldn't have been. I thought at half time I sort of sat there and said at 1-0 it's never over, and I thought the goal right before half time was perfectly timed because it really gave us a springboard to go on and sort of get the early goal in the second half. But the longer that goal didn't come, the more you sort of thought, oh, something will go in off Demba Ba's arse, or Ozilcup will put one in with the tip of his cock, or something will happen, and we'll be, you know, we'll be on the back foot. And those sort of games, when you don't get the away goal in the away leg, they are that close. And the more that time ticked down, the more I thought, even if they do score, we're not going to have the time to get back in front here. And then obviously we had the red card, which, I mean, okay, yeah, I can see why he was booked for the pull on the shirt, but I don't think the first booking was a yellow myself. I mean, he turns his back, but he just wanted the ball more, and the guy ran into him. I don't really see what you can do getting out the way there. And okay, yeah, we had the penalty incidents. I think Jack came out after the game and said that he did possibly touch him, but the replays didn't suggest that he did. And the Debussy one, I thought he clearly took the ball, so I'm not really sure where everyone thinks these two penalties were guaranteed. The one thing I would say is, I never thought I'd be saying this, but full credit to Slaven Bilic in his post-match interview. I don't know if anyone saw it, but he was extremely respectful in his comments. He didn't have attack the referee. He said credit to Demba Ba. The chance was, you know, he was unlucky, and he was extremely complimentary about the game. And he also came out with the quote of that Besiktas were now in the Europa League, and he said that is the level that we should be playing at. And I thought it was very magnanimous for him to say that, given the fact he was such a thundercunt in the first leg. So it was one of those games that I'm not going to remember in probably 2 weeks, let alone 2 years. But we've done the job, we've got through, we're in the hat, and let's take it on now and get through the group stage, hopefully.
And it was a night that almost seemed set up for Jack Wilshere. You had no Aaron Ramsey in the team, and it was almost as if he was trying to show off what he could be, or what he was, so to speak. Robbie had a fantastic game, didn't he?
I watched it on Twitter, mate. I was out. I couldn't even see it. It was the most horrific update of notifications I've ever had in my life. And also, I was at this play, this theatre thing, and I had to have my phone off because my girlfriend was shouting at me. And then I only got a bit of it in the interval, and I had to load up my phone at the end of the performance to see if we'd gone through. And I couldn't cope with that. Never mind watching it. I was a mess.
I can ask you a different question then. Qualifying for the Champions League 17 years in a row, I mean, just how good a record is that from our manager?
Well, yeah, it's pretty much bang on, isn't it? Considering that we've in that time moved, I know everyone bangs on about it, but moving to the stadium and doing all that and stuff. So yeah, it's amazing, and I think sometimes rather than going, but why haven't we won it? Why haven't we won the league? It is good to realise, that's a lot of money he's brought into the club, and a lot of just establishing yourself as a proper top European team, which we've sort of were in and out of before he came along. So I think it's amazing, and I think sometimes you're quick to forget what how amazing that is. You look at a club like Liverpool, sort of been only just got back in and out of it.
Or even a team like Man United, who are nowhere near Europe this year.
Exactly, and then look what happened when Ferguson left there. And everyone, a couple of years, a year and a half ago, everyone was banging on about Arsenal getting Moyes, and we were there was for Arsenal fans who were disappointed that he went to Man United. And look at that now.
But let's not forget, Rob, these were the same people that 5 years ago would have had Owen Coyle in the hot seat instead of Arsene Wenger. So.
Exactly, and there's always going to be, because the press love to have a new fanboy, and at the moment it's Brendan Rodgers, his philosophy and all that, and he is a good manager, Brendan Rodgers, but they've had some absolute duff ones over the years of these super managers, but like Martinez has done better than Moyes already in that time, so I think, it's better the devil you know, and for someone to give a club 17 years of Champions League football whilst creating legends, and so many legends, if you look at the amazing players that we've had, and the stuff we've done, and I think, it's incredible.
I mean, you've only got to look at the pieces of business he's done over the years, like 500,000 for Nicolas Anelka a couple of years later, 23.5 million.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Danny, we'll go to you next, and I'll ask you exactly what I asked Rob. Jack Wilshere, absolutely superb.
Yeah, it is. He said that in an interview before the game that it's the first pre-seasons he has had in 3 years, and I think combine that with the fact that before he got injured all those years ago, he was looking like he was the star of the Arsenal team. He was the one who we were going to rely on to come on and sort stuff out. And now that he is probably fourth or fifth choice of people's down the pecking order of who you think is going to be the man who is going to change the game, I think that gives him, along with the full pre-season and a year without much injuries, it's going to really help rebuild his game. The pressure is off, the fitness is on, and I noticed last night that he was taking less touches with the ball, holding onto the ball a little bit less, which is what everybody in the media has been shouting. Jack, don't run with the ball so much because you keep getting kicked. But then I was just looking up on soccerway.com at the referee last night, Pedro Proenca, and he's obviously got some kind of deal with Clinton cards because he's given away 26 yellows and 2 reds in his last 3 games. I thought the bloke was an absolute joke. I mean, to go and book who was Chambers, go and book him because he stepped onto the pitch a little bit too early, and then he booked Szczesny because he held onto the ball for a little bit too long. The whole thing was an absolute disgrace. But for me, the best thing of the entire night, Demba Ba. I was watching a Turkish feed, and they kept referring to him as Dembaba.
That's lovely. I know you said about the referee and the fourth official. I know Andrew's got something to wade in with that.
Oh, mate, I was going to say, yeah, I posted a photo. I think I put it in the group last night, and also
because you were there, weren't you? You were sitting behind Wenger.
As I say, they put that photo of the guy. Who was the? Do you see the fourth official for Besiktas? As I said, he spent more time on the pitch than Debussy. It was ridiculous, and we had that spineless cunt, the fourth official, who had his head in his hands every time. I put one picture up. He was in Wenger's technical area at one point. Like genuinely, he's running around up and down the side of the pitch. There was nothing happening. And then the second Chambers ran on the pitch a second early. He got him booked. And I'm thinking, what a twat. It was honestly, I don't usually let my guard down too much, but I was proper losing my shit last night with the ref. It was some of the decisions they were making. I'm lucky that I sit on the sides where we are. It's the side where the cameras are on our side, so I haven't been seen by one of my clients or colleagues yet, just having a proper meltdown on row 9. So look, all right, prick, but. Last night, the disgrace, wasn't it? Some of the decisions they were making. I think, Debussy's first yellow, fair enough, it probably was the yellow where you had that kind of head contact after the ball. But then their player, Motta, went and did exactly the same to Debussy about 10 minutes later, and nothing was given. And then he makes a bad tackle and gets booked. And you're thinking, well, he should be off by now. And I think there's just a lot of inconsistency from the referee. And as you said there, Danny, as well, he's such a card-happy guy. I think it was only 18 seconds from when the ball went out of play to when Szczesny actually got booked. So, factor in the time there from when, the ball boy's giving him a new ball, it was ludicrous.
And I think we should talk about Debussy as well, because until the standing off, he was absolutely superb, wasn't he, Kris?
I absolutely love him. I think he's been, if you look at all 3 games for me, he's been our best player in all 3 games. I know there's been the hype about Chambers, and don't get me wrong, I love Chambers to bits. I think he's class. But Debussy, for a guy that, by my own admission, and a lot of the guys over the podcast in the summer were sort of saying, he did all right at Newcastle, he'll do a job, but he won't be anything great. he's just been fantastic. He's clearly an absolute nutter, which I love. I know Rob mentioned that earlier on.
Gramondi about him. That's what I like.
Absolutely, the bit at the end of the game summed up for me when Flamini had to hold him back. I mean, you're a nutter when Flamini's holding you back. But he's and to be fair, those tattoos and that haircut. I mean, yeah, as a heavily tattooed man myself, I know the stigma that's attached. And yeah, you take one look at him in a dark alleyway, you walk the other way. But that aside, his footballing ability. He was clearly in a pretty poor Newcastle side, and we probably didn't see the best of him in England yet. But when he was at Lille, he's showing all the form that he's showing for Arsenal now. He showed when he was at Lille. He's good positionally. He's very good in the air for such a. He's not a particularly tall guy. His energy levels are fantastic. He's up and down the whole time. And as I say, I thought he was unlucky to be sent off last night. And for a guy who's only been at the club for a number of weeks, really, he already looks like he would die for the team, and that's something you can't have enough of. And it's probably something that even like a Kieran Gibbs could do with a little bit more bite about him. And I think he's, as I say, in our 3 games, for me, he's been the standout performer in every game.
Gim, got a question for you.
Go on.
You watched the whole game, didn't you?
I pretty much did,
Did you notice Wilshere breathing out of his arse, barely able to hobble, let alone run? Why did Wenger not bring on any subs when he had Rosicky, Campbell, Coquelin, Podolski, Sanogo on the bench? Why was he letting people hobble around the pitch rather than bringing them on?
I think there's a certain amount of stubbornness with him that he has his first 11, and unless something is going majorly wrong, he doesn't like to upset the balance with it, does he? I would probably presume that he thought that Wilshere would, if he took him off, he would unbalance the team maybe. I don't know. I mean, the only person you could really ask that to is Arsene Wenger.
He's not here though, so I'll ask. Go on.
On that, they had Coquelin and Sanogo who were pretty much ready to come on for about the last 10 minutes. And the Cakers was like running between the 4th official and Wenger like a dog between 2 lampposts, kneeling the piss, wasn't he, for about 10 minutes. Didn't know what was going on. And they kept getting warming up, and then they put their tops back on, and it was a strange one, that.
Andrew, Chris, did you have any views on that, being the manager that you are?
Oh God, don't see me start. Can I just say, actually, just 2 minutes ago, a certain Jason Davies popped up on my Skype simply with Carpenter out. So cheers, Jason, you absolute cretin.
Carpenter out.
Carpenter out.
Sadie.
I feel we should talk about the Champions League draw as well, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Dortmund, Galatasaray, and
Anderlecht.
Well, we have got Borussia Dortmund. We've got Borussia Dortmund on the 16th of September away, then Galatasaray at home, Anderlecht away, Anderlecht at home, Dortmund home, and then the final one is going to be Galatasaray away, which is one hell of away. That's one hell of a way to finish in your group stage, isn't it? Away at Galatasaray.
Yeah, we'll be qualified by then.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, hopefully.
The kids.
Just going to say that exact thing. We should. I mean, a few people on Twitter this afternoon were like, "Oh, I don't know, that's a tricky draw." Bollocks, is it? Borussia Dortmund. I love Klopp, and they're a good side, but they are that. They're a good side. They've sold their best striker in Lewandowski. They've got sort of Marco Reus, obviously, is their key sort of forward player now, but they're not as settled as they could be. We're playing them early, which is a good thing. I'll be going to the away leg, and I cannot wait because it's an awesome stadium out there.
You're off to the fatherland.
I am.
I'd like to come with you. We could take the Panzer wagon.
I've got a mate who lives in Germany, a British guy who moved out there last year, and he said, if you get any draws in Germany, let me know, I'll sort you out. So I've already been on the phone to him this afternoon.
Well, when we played them last season, we played them in October last year, lost 2-1 at home, and then November last year we beat them 1-0 at their place.
Exactly. I think we've got all the tools. I completely agree with Rob. I think Galatasaray and Anderlecht, home and away, we can beat them comfortably. The only issue I can see with Galatasaray away is their pitch, because it's horrendous. I don't know if you remember the game they played Juventus, where they had the snowy pitch. It was called off, and then they played it 24 hours later, and it should never have been played. That was a joke. So the surface is not great there, and obviously their fans are nutters. Apologies to the Turkish listeners, but Galatasaray fans are.
Apologies to nuts, more like.
Yeah, pretty much.
They've still got a core of talent there, haven't they? They've still got Yilmaz, Mello, Aboué, Schneider, out in top. They've still got.
What? I'm only here to see a buoy.
I think you make a good point, Andrew. I mean, at the end of the day, it always makes me laugh when people look at the Champions League draws and they go, "Oh, that's a group of death," or "This is a group of death." If you want to win the Champions League, you're going to have to beat at the very least 3 top European sides. So every group is not going to be easy. I mean, you look at the group Chelsea have got. Yeah, obviously we'd rather have that group, but at the end of the day, beating Dortmund is not impossible, and I can see us beating them at home, and a draw away would be happy. The Galatasaray away game shouldn't even matter if we're already qualified. And Anderlecht, anyone that saw them in the Champions League last year, I mean, they were wretched. So, and let's not forget, Real Madrid beat Galatasaray, 6-0, was it, in their away leg last year? They have got some decent players.
And a decent manager, Prandelli's just gone there after leaving the Italian job.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll cause us a problem or two. Anderlecht will probably cause us a problem or two. But with the Arsenal, there's no reason why we can't go and win 4 or 5 games out of 6.
And Rob, let's get your thoughts on this group. Could have been a lot harder, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, you've got to beat the better teams. If you support this Champions League, innit? There's no point. Also, as well, if you have all those weird shit teams, if you lose to them, it's awful. At least if you go and play Dortmund, it's a proper game, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So you're rather just, I don't want to watch Arsenal struggle against. I can't even say the names of some of these teams. What is it? What was that new one? Ludogorets.
Ludogorets. Yeah. Did anyone see that last night?
It was
their
fantastic.
Goalkeeper got sent off, right? So their centre back, who's from Romania, which was the nationality of the team they were playing, went in goal
and used to play for their rivals.
Yeah,
and saved the winning penalty. It was like, I think it was actually history was made.
Yep.
Yeah, and the goalkeeper.
I saw that headline of that. I haven't seen the goals, but I'd rather play Dortmund, Galatasaray, tough teams, because if you get drawn with all those weird shit ones, you might as well play in the Europa League.
Like Spurs are now.
It's to play and beat the best teams in Europe. I don't want to watch Arsenal play a load of shit. I don't even know who they are. You know what I mean? I want to watch them beat the best teams, not sneak a 1-0 against a team I literally cannot pronounce or point out on a map.
Playing against a team that it looks like when you've played 8 out of 10 Cats has done Countdown, where you've got the conundrum at the end and made a team name up from it.
Yeah. A bit like that, mate. Not exactly, but yeah, a bit like that.
Lots of O's and A's.
Probably one of the best analogy, probably nearly as bad as my Barman one earlier, which I definitely misjudged the seriousness of the first chat.
And Andrew, let's have your final thoughts on this group.
If we don't win it, we're not going to win the Champions League. That's it. It's there for us. It's our year. So we
Get
should.
off the fence, Andrew.
This is our. I mean, we can't qualify a second again because we need. Too many years now we've gone and played a hard team in the second or in the 16th rounds. We're slipping down a little bit in the in the UEFA ranking. So
Coefficient, yeah.
Also, no, it's my birthday as well on September 16th. So if anyone wants to buy Uncle Andrew some tickets out to Dortmund,
Uncle Andrew, that sounds so creepy.
Mostly appreciated.
If anybody wants to sit on Uncle Andrew's knee, let him know.
Hold on, hello, Amanda. Is that you? Receiving? Okay. Right, we'll start the final segment of the podcast. Is the any other news section, in which we discuss anything we think is relevant that's happened in the Arsenal world over the last week. And I think the first thing we should kick off with, Kris, and I want to go over to you for this one, is Almunia retiring from football with a heart condition.
Yeah, it's a real sad one. This, I mean, obviously, he was much ridiculed in his time at Arsenal, and it's like a few people have said, it wasn't his fault that he was thrust into a position that really wasn't a level that he could achieve. He had some very sort of high and very low moments. Obviously, coming on the Champions League final, despite the result, would have been quite a big high, and he did sort of have some really good games for the club, and he was, by all accounts, an extremely likeable man from all that's been said. And I vaguely remember back in the days of when magazines were popular. Do you remember magazines? Yeah,
Shoot match, 90 minutes.
Yeah, remember CDs as well? They used to exist.
No.
But I remember buying a copy of the official Arsenal magazine back in the day, and there was an interview with him, and a couple of the players were quoted as saying that he was one of the most likeable guys in the dressing room. It was just a pleasure to be around, and he was quite a big fan of going out in London and visiting museums and taking in the English culture. And there was this talk of him becoming an English national team member at one point with a nationality. So I think it's very easy to, as Rob alluded to earlier on, when you sort of stood in the crowd or in front of your telly screaming at how shit these players are and how you could do a better job. I think it's sort of important to step back and realise that this is a career, this is a livelihood. And this is a guy that is now not able to do the thing he loves. And by all accounts, he was very good at Watford, which is probably more his level in the Championship. And this is a guy now that has to sort of take a step away from the game that he loves playing, from the money that he would have made, which is a livelihood. He's got a family to support. And it's a very serious condition. We all know about Kanu, obviously, but there's very few players that play through this sort of situation or this kind of condition. And also, there notably the Mark Vivian Foe and the Sevilla lad whose name completely escapes me, who died on the pitch. And you don't want to have players playing at such a high level or any level with such a serious medical condition. So, all the best to him, Manuel, and sort of thanks for the times you gave us and for all the people that threw you under the bus. And there was quite a few jokes about Morris dancing on the Tuesday Club podcast back in the day, which were amusing. But I think anyone that does anything but wish him well wants to have a good look at themselves, really.
Yep. And is there anything you wanted to say about Almunia, Rob?
Well, yeah, he's one of those players, like you say, you go, oh, you're rubbish, I could do better. And if he turned up at your five-a-side team, you would literally be watching him with your mouth open going, that is the most amazing footballer I've ever... Because you forget how good these players are. You go, oh, you're shit, you're rubbish, but he's still of a high quality. He wasn't the best goalkeeper we've ever had, but, he did his best to put a shift in, and you can't ask for more than that, can you?
No, exactly. I think one of the games that we're going to remember him for is coming on for Lehmann in the Champions League final, and I don't think he disgraced us that night. So I think we wish him all the best, and whatever happens with his retirement. But where one football career ends, another one starts, and it's nice to hear that Callum Chambers got a call up for the England team today, Danny.
Yeah, it is. It's good because I think Rob Jones. Oh, I always say Rob Jones. It's not Rob Jones, is it? It's the other Liverpool
Rob
right
Jones,
back.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's. Why do I always get his name mixed up? Johnson, Glenn Johnson.
I still got a micro star of Rob Jones in the England kit somewhere.
I've got a box of about 200 Corinthians up in the loft, worth their own weight in dust.
Wait, I'll buy them off you. I want them.
Oh, I'll tell you, I've got a football collection of stuff that most people wouldn't give a damn about, but it's lovely.
Do you want to get rid of those little micro stars?
I've got, actually, about 20 packs of Arsenal ones still unopened.
Oh, wow.
Still in the blister packs. We can talk later. Your people can do lunch with my people, and then you can come out and burger me when I'm doing lunch with them.
Nah, just send me a tweet, mate. We'll sort it out from there.
Fair enough, job done. Yeah, it's just because it looks like he's going to be the future. And with I know Roy always likes a player that can play in many positions. What's the word for that?
Oh, versatile.
That's it, versatile.
Get on, mate. Do you want to go and have half-hour kip and come back?
It's the jacket potatoes are getting the worst of me. Yeah, he likes a versatile player, which he showed in the World Cup by some of the players that he took there. So I think he likes the fact that he can play right back, he can play centre back, and which he's shown he's done both. The centre back really well for us after a season at right back for Southampton, and the fact that he can probably cover, which we will probably see later this season, as a defensive midfielder. So I mean, he's only 18 now, and get him straight in there. So it's just really, really good. And just one more reason to keep watching England, because now we've got Walcott and the Ox and Wilshere and him. So it's just nice to see more England players from Arsenal. Like back in the old days when I first started supporting Arsenal in the late 80s, you'd always have 6, 7, 8 players playing for England from Arsenal. It's just brilliant.
And we should end this really, the news section, with the news of Southampton at home in the Capital One Cup, Andrew.
Oh, that'll be a big game for me, actually, won't it?
It will.
So, I'm looking at. Well, it's time to shine, wasn't it? All the young. It's a big game for. It's a pretty good third round tie-in, I think, for the lads.
I thought you meant you were going to say you're from Southampton.
Or me? No.
What, with an accent like that, Danny? Get with the programme,
he might live on a boat and it might float. It's all the same down there when you get down near the water.
We know Rob wants to go, so we'll end this. Predictions, shout-outs, done. Right, predictions for Leicester away, people. And to start with, I'm going to go Rob. So if we could have your score and predict your first scorer.
It's going to be 3-0 to Arsenal.
Yep.
And Ramsey's going to score.
Fantastic. Danny?
5-0 Ozil.
Okay, Kris?
2-1 the Arsenal, and I will go with Santi.
Okay, Andrew?
I'm going to be bullish so Kris doesn't hate me, and I'm going to go 5-0 Chamberlain.
Okay.
I could never hate you, Andrew.
What are you
I'm going
picking, Kim?
2-0 Alexis.
Oh, look at
And
you.
your shout-outs. Rob, I don't know if you've got a shout-out. If you do, just anyone that you like or you know on Twitter that's made you laugh or something. I'm going to start this week, and my one is the Mataclysm, who is at TheMattClysm, and that's my shout-out. Danny?
I'm going to be serious for once. This person knows who they are, and they've recently lost their other half to an illness, and it's very sad. And he was saying that it makes him see life a little bit differently now. So best wishes go out to the person I'm on about and his other half who's just passed away.
Could you have done that one last?
Yeah. He's a lovely bloke. He knows who he is.
He just drags it down, Rob.
Every other week it's always...
That's a lovely sentiment, but I can't tell you about Wacky Joe to 73 now with his...
He won't mind. He'll see the funny side of it.
Oh, fair enough.
Okay, Rob, did you have one you wanted to share with the world?
Oh, yeah, I'll go now, shall I? Yeah, just what you said before, same one to him, really, yeah.
Yeah, just let him have it. Fuck it, he's got two.
Yeah.
Chris?
Not quite sure how to follow that. Just a couple. One is God bless her, lady called Caroline Coon. She's donated a huge amount of money and time to the aforementioned Barbican Pirates team that I manage.
Hasn't she got someone at a Liverpool press conference in her avatar?
That's her boyfriend, who's one of our players. Yeah, so we'll let him off that. But
all right.
no, she's been a star. She's our club photographer, so she puts up all the images that I share on the Twitter feeds and whatnot of the club, and she's contributed a hell of a lot of money to the cause as well. So I wanted to give her a personal shout out.
You make it sound so professional. She's just a bird that turns up with a camera phone.
Actually, she spent nearly 300 quid on a new camera this week. She's taken a photography course and everything. She's well into it, I tell you.
We wasted almost 50 quid sponsoring you.
Wasted? Oh, thanks. That's kind, isn't it?
Oh, Andrew.
Shit. I've got another quick one if I may.
Oh, go on, milk it. Rob's got all fucking day. Don't worry. He's a professional.
I got a chap follow me earlier on called Mark. I believe he's a friend of the pod. He's Mark. He's at Mark71AFC.
Never heard of him.
He was my 1500th follower, so I promised I'd give him a shout out. So there's one for you as well, Mark. There you go. I'm done.
Oh, it's magical.
And finally, Andrew.
One for the Gunnosaurus this week for doing the ice bucket challenge, whatever it is. Most of the people on my Facebook were all doing it at knobs, but he actually made it funny. So that's good to see. If you haven't seen it on Vine, yeah, obviously I think it was pretty funny, just his reaction after. And then one, just Sean Atwood actually, have a lot of chat with him. Always quote The Office, and he told me the other day that he always knew I was bent. So, which is a quote from The Office, and he put it on Twitter and kind of risked the wrath of people thinking he's homophobic when he's not. He was just quoting Taffy from The Office, which I thought was hilarious.
Although you do look a little bit like Gokwan in his defence.
But here we go.
Okay. So all that's left is to thank everyone for joining me tonight. Rob, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I don't think I've ever laughed as much on a podcast.
Oh, thanks, mate. No, I've really enjoyed it. You're a good bunch of guys.
Oh,
Thank
bless you. And if you ever want to come on with Dave Illier and meet one of your legends, just pretend he is, then we'll pull some strings.
Yeah, do a Jason. Oh, I'd just like to thank you for all the years of enjoyment you gave me.
Yeah, I know. Oh, bless him. If people would like been... Oh, God. I've spoken too much. I've said too much.
Right. So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Thank you very much for listening. And keep it Arsenal. Good night.
No, cheeky monkeys.
Come on, you pirates.
Arr.
Up and out.
This is the bit at the end, Rob, where you say something stupid and we leave it in.
All right. Fuck off. Podcast. Free.
You've got to end it on that shit.
Not really. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Most days are like all of the others. Go to work, come back home, watch TV. But brother, if I had me druthers, I'd chuck it and head out to sea. For I dream of the skull and the crossbones. I dream of the great day to come, when I dump the mundane for the old Spanish main and trade me computer for rum. R to me, yo ho, it's talk like a pirate day. When laptops are benches God gave us for wenches, and a sail ain't a low price to pay. When timbers are shivered and lilies are livered and every last buckle is squashed, we'll abandon our cars for a ship full of R's and pound back the grog till we're sloshed, yo-ho.
Hey, anybody seen me keys?
Just off the coast of Florida, matey, R. Don't pick up your phone and say hello. Our 10 o'clock meeting's delayed.
You scrunch up your face and you bellow. Avast, you've been bleeding belayed.
You can't keep this fun to yourself, I bet. So sing,
I,
R, every man. We ain't got much grasp of the alphabet, but a damn good retirement plan. To me, yo ho, it's talk like a pirate day. Whatever's in fashion is in for a thrashing, and being polite is passe. When it's every man's duty to grab his proud beauty and let out a hearty yo-ho. And if this offends you, hold your breath as we send you to Davy Jones' locker. You go, yo-ho. Hey, where is Davy Jones' locker anyway?
Right near Monkey Island, matey.
We'll tell every banker heave to and weigh anchor by latte with pieces of 8. We'll fight to be chosen as captain or bosun, the loser of course his worst mate. When we hoist Jolly Roger, the landlubber's dodger, we fill him with loathing and fear. We'll plunder and pillage each city and village, or at least clean out Walmart of beer.
Ahoy, mateys, and welcome to Iron Chef Pirate. Let's see the secret ingredient. It's barnacles. Oh, there'll be some cutting-edge cuisine.
Hold still, Polly. I need this for me salad.
Alas there, me bucko, you need carrot shavings.
Oh, carrot. But Captain, I be an Atkins.
Aye. Moron. And you, what are you doing with that salmon? I'm grilling it on a hunk of cedar, what do you think? You can't do that in a Japanese stir-fry, you bilge rat. Oh, you never heard of walking the plank?
There ain't no computing or morning commuting, no parking lot full signs for me. No lawns to be mowing or bills to be owing, I'm knowing the pull of the sea. The fresh salty brace of the wind on my face, through hurricane, sunshine or squalls. I'm keeping my eyes on the distant horizon, Verizon can hold all my calls.
To wear a red coat full of buckles,
to earn a few dueling scars.
well, at least we can get a few chuckles by filling the office with
R's.
and maybe we'll never get closer than watching 'em on the big screen.
So here's to old Errol
And deaf as Jack Sparrow,
and every damn one in between.
to me,
Yo ho, it's talk like a pirate day. That time in September when sea dogs remember that grown-ups still know how to play. When wenches are curvy and dogs are all scurvy
and a software patch covers your eye.
To hell with our jobs, for one day we're all swabs and buccaneers all till we die. So hoist up the mainsails and shut down your brain cells, they only would get in the way.
Avast there, me hearty, we're having a party.
It's talk like a pirate day. Yo-ho!
All right, me buckos, we've got a new retirement plan.
What's it called, Captain?
A 401R. Nice office, matey. Who designed it?
An architect.
I'm gonna stop at the store on me way home.
Where are you going, Target?
No, Marshall Fields.
Incoming message, Captain.
Alpha, Romeo, Romeo, Romeo. Whose side are they on? Our side, of course.
Now you're pushing it.
Oh, so I've gone too far.
Created a monster, I have.
No, that's talking like Yoda.
I'm still waiting for the women to throw themselves at me over the picture of me naked in the bath yesterday.
Jeez, I roared with laughter when FK said he was on a bus and he opened that picture.
Oh dear.
You don't want to see it, Rob. Trust me.
No.
No, I
Just
don't. This is the baked bean one.
No,
That's worse.
I'm a big fat bloke and I'm still laying down in my brother's bath, all covered in foam with a big sponge over the goods.
God.
And I'm all foamed up, and I've got a beard like a 15th century Viking. I look very angry, and I'm giving it a thumbs up and a cheeky wink.
What could people you work with? Can they see this, or have you got it?
No, it's just on Twitter.
Sorry about that. I'm going to take this laptop back to Argos tomorrow and chuck it at the first student's face.
Make sure you get a ticket and wait for the return.
Oh, what a piece of shit this is. We go through this every week because of this stupid piece of shit that I paid £400 for 2 months ago.
We were just urging Rob not to look at Danny's picture on Twitter. That was all.
Yeah, Rob, I'm just going to tweet you a picture of it now.
Don't do it, Rob.
You can't
It will
unsee this,
scar
Rob.
you for life.
It's
You
coming
can't
in.
unsee it. Once you've seen
I've
it,
said,
that's it.
here is the magic. So just go and have a look through your tweets for that.
God.
And then when your eyes melt and you can't do stand-up anymore.
Oh, one new notification. I've never been so trepidatious about clicking it.
I wouldn't. He looks like.
Oh my god! Oh, it's like a murder scene.
I think that is the reaction.
When
Rob.
did you have that bath? The 80s? Look at it.
It's my brother's bath.
Fair enough.
He's proud of that bath. He's like, oh, it's got
No,
jets and everything. It cleans between the folds.
It's like a weird tampon. It's a thing you use for fake tan, isn't it? It's not even a proper sponge.
Oh, yeah, that's my favourite sponge. I've had that for 22 years, man and boy.
Oh god, I've seen some things.